Hello everybody and welcome back to another cancer update video. If this is your first time here on the channel, we've got several more of these and a whole part of this, like a section of the channel here dedicated to my experience with leukemia and my cancer diagnosis, which we've been living with for the last year and a half, over a year and a half at this point. I was diagnosed with cancer first in January of 2024. On like the 9th, and today is the 14th of July, or no, the 15th of July? What is today's date? Today's date is
14th.
July 14th, 2025, so almost a year and a half, exactly, but not quite. But anyway, we've made several of these videos before on the channel, and mainly they serve two purposes. They serve as a way for me to update everybody and talk, specifically have a video dedicated to talking about what's been happening so far, because a lot of the videos here on the channel are reaction videos, and I talk about my cancer in all of those videos and give little updates as we go along the way. But this video is just specifically for being an update and just letting everybody know what's been happening as we've been going through all of this. And the second thing is for us personally to use as sort of a time capsule so we can help remember everything that's been going on. For us, this all feels like a big blur, and it feels like we are just kind of living through things, and then you go from day to day to day to day, and it's actually hard to remember things. And so, and then also seeing things and whatnot in this particular video, because in this video we're going to talk a lot about the hospital that we've been going to through this whole process, and where we've actually been staying for the last 102, or actually 108 days, I think, right? Because we were here for a week first, and then the countdown started. So I think we've been here since actually March 28th was the day we came.
Right.
And if you calculate those days, we're on day 102 since my transplant. It's been 102 days since my transplant. And we were here a week before that. So it would make it 109 days, I guess, that we've been here. But anyway, in this video, we're going to talk about the hospital a lot, but we're also going to talk about a bunch of other things. Trust me, we sat down over the last few days and tried to figure out what we're going to talk about, and we came up with this ridiculous list. I don't know if you there. This list. And so we're going to just not go through all of that and talk for 5 minutes on each of those points, I promise. A lot of that is just like, ooh, well, we walked around at the hospital. So we'll go through and we'll talk about a lot of different things in this video. But if this is your first time here on the channel, like I said, please go check out some of the other videos like this. This is not content that we normally make here on the channel, but it is something that I like to do, and it is something that we feel is important to do. And if you're here normally for reactions and you're seeing this, you don't know what this is, then just skip this, go on to the next thing, and don't worry about it. But if you're here to keep up, and if you're a family member, someone that knows me, knows us, then thank you for watching the video. We appreciate it very much. So we decided to split this video into sort of 4 different categories to make it a little easier. This is the first time I've recorded with sort of like notes and like a thing for us to try to help guide us through this. So I don't know how that's going to go. Probably not very well. But if all comes to worst, we can just completely forget all the notes and just talk about whatever's been happening to us the whole time, because we were here, we experienced it, and we kind of remember some of it. In this video, my mouth does get dry still from some of the medication I have, but it's not as bad as it has been in the past. So in this video, I'm drinking a Body Armor. It's one of those dragon fruit ones, I think. Dragon fruit berry. And she chose not to drink anything. I told her, I said, you might want something to drink. And she said, no, that's all right. So, well, that's her decision. We'll see if she regrets it later. So in the last video, I was talking about the fact that we were getting ready to leave our hospital room. We had been staying on the 7th floor of the Buffett Cancer Center here at UNMC in Omaha, Nebraska. We had been staying there for, at that point, it was supposed to be 30 days, but we ended up getting booted out of there around day 21. And so I made that video shortly before we left, a couple days before we left, and came here. What ended up happening was we came here we found this out a few days before that, but they came and told us that they wanted us to leave, and we thought we were going to be in that part of the hospital for 30 days and then have 100 days somewhere in a hotel. We had talked to our social workers before this, and we had sort of been trying to get a place that was a hotel that was very close to the hospital so that we could maybe, when we felt good, walk to our appointments, which is hilarious to think about that now because we could barely walk to our appointments and we're in the same building. Mm-hmm. But a social worker person who I had never met before but was part of my case, I guess, came and talked to us when we were in the hospital on the 7th floor, and he told us that they had gotten us a room at what they called the Nebraska House. And we were like, oh, what is the Nebraska House? And they said, well, it is a hotel that is actually here attached to the hospital. And we did not know that there was a hotel here at all. And in fact, a lot of the staff members of the hotel in other parts of the hotel don't even know that there's a hotel here. I'm sorry, of the hospital. Sorry. How many times have I said hotel instead of hospital? It's going to happen a lot in this video. It happens a lot all day. So just know when I'm talking about a hotel, I mean this particular building we're in, this room we're in right now, and this building. It's actually only a floor of this building, and then a little area of this little common area out in the sort of like a reception area type thing. And if I say hospital, I'm including this building in that, but also the greater sort of like giant group of. Hold on, I got to figure out where I can have my hands so they don't go off screen. I got to be more towards you. So the enormous hospital that we've been staying in, that includes all of our appointments, everywhere we've been going, plus the hotel. So I'm sorry if I get those two words mixed up a lot during this video. But anyway, they told us we were going to be moving to a hotel here in the hospital. And so we were like, okay. And so at the end of the last video, I ended the video with actually the shaving of my head, which is the first time I'd ever shaved my head, and I shaved off my facial hair as well, which I believe all that's at the end of the video. So since then, my hair is gone. It's disappeared from pretty much everywhere, and but now my mustache is growing back pretty good, and my facial hair is starting to grow back as well. So I may start to let that grow back. But for now, my mustache started way sooner than the rest of the hair on my face here. It still doesn't grow over here in this spot, and down here a little bit, and then a little bit down here under the chin. But everywhere else is growing pretty thick, and I have to shave like every other day or so, or it starts to be pretty obvious. So that's starting to grow back. The hair on my head is really not growing back at all. We have shaved it once since we originally shaved it at the end of that video because it was just like stringy, strawy looking gross, like, I mean, it'd be 1/4 inch looking hairs. And so we just cut that all off. And so my head is exactly what it is. It is just, I'm bald. Hello, everybody. This is Bald Patrick now. But that was what they did at the end of that video. I edited that video actually here in this room. So we were told we were going to leave that. I know this is a little higgledy-piggledy the way I'm going through stuff, but we were told we were going to leave there and go to the Nebraska House. And the day that we actually had to leave was day 21, and I had gout so bad in my knee here that I could not walk. So the nurses that had been taking care of us that day loaded me onto a wheelchair. They took, and I was carrying some stuff. We had like a hotel carrier type of deal that we had loaded my computer, all my stuff. We packed everything up just like we had when we first moved in. We loaded everything up, and then my sister and my niece and my nephew and my dad were visiting as well. So this giant motley crew of us at, I forget what time it was. I think it was on a Saturday or a Sunday. It was on one of those days because there was no one in the hospital. But we, this giant motley crew of all of us plus 3 nurses, all left their posts at the 7th floor, on the 7th floor in Buffett Cancer Center, and we walked all the way in a back, like we took a back route, which we've never seen again since then.
Nope.
But we took a back route with all these secret elevators and things, and then eventually got to this building where we were separated because we couldn't all fit on the tiny elevators that they have here, which are from, my mom thinks it's from when? The 70s?
I think
this
so.
Part of the building is very
They're
old feeling.
Old.
Yeah. And I do want to mention right away at the beginning of the video here that throughout this video, I haven't decided yet how I'm going to do this. I have been taking a lot of videos with my phone of the hospital. And so either as we're talking about things, I will include videos of the areas we're talking about. So don't freak out if the video changes to something other than us. You still hear me talking. I'm showing you something that we're talking about or something adjacent to what we're talking about. But I may do that. I may also just wait and at the end of this video have a very long section with like instrumental music or something in there, just having all these videos about everything. It depends how much I want to edit, I guess. If I want to go through and talk about this stuff, I'll do that. But so just be aware this video is going to be, I'll probably have to put a lot of effort into it. So either I'll be showing things or it'll be at the end, but we're not going to worry about that, I guess, for now. So if you're seeing something, that probably means I decided to take the extra step and show you all as we're talking about it. But regardless, I will be editing things as in and out as the video as we go through. So we were separated when we got to this building, and my dad and his nurse who was with him got lost. They went somewhere else in a different direction. She was a young nurse. So it was like her first year here. She did not know that this place existed at all where we are now. And so we ended up getting here, and we walked into the room, and I think you and I were the first two in here. And then my nephew Hunter came in, and I remember his words exactly were, "This is just like a prison that he had seen in Sweden on a document in a YouTube video." He's like, "This is like a Swedish prison that he saw in a YouTube video," was his impression of the room we have here. And so the nurses left us. We all got in. I could barely walk at all. I was very bad. So they hauled me onto one of the beds. From here, you can see, I guess this way. I've been sleeping on that bed farther, and then this bed here has been my mother's bed this entire time we've been here. And so and I don't know how we decided that, but they plopped me on that bed, and so I guess that was been my bed since then. And then we slowly, over the course of a few days, got settled in, and we ended up falling into our routine. And so our routine, pretty much consistently since we got here, and for the last 109 days or however many, or 100 days. How many days since we came here?
102.
No, it's not.
We came here April 21st.
Yeah, so we've actually been here. Sure. Yeah, that's too much math to do on the fly.
That would be 17 days, probably about.
So it would be about like 85, 80, well, so just say 85 days we've been here in this room. But it doesn't matter the exact math. But for almost all of that time, our schedule has been Monday morning, walk from here through the hospital building, which at first was a little difficult. We didn't exactly know where we were going, especially that first day. Yeah. Because I think we came here on a Sunday, and then the next day had appointments.
We had appointments.
So when we came, like I said, we came through a back way, and so when we went the regular way for normal people, it was a little difficult for us to find where we were even going. And we had been coming to this hospital here for the last year. I mean, we've been coming here all the way since January of 2024. We just had only seen certain parts of the building, and then if we've had to leave the main Buffett Cancer Center, where we go for a majority of the time, we would always feel like we were lost when we went anywhere else in the hospital. But we did have to go to several other areas. And so when we were put here in a building we were unfamiliar with, it took us a few times to figure out where we were going, but then obviously we figured it out. And now it's old hat to us. We know all the areas of the hospital because we've explored a lot of it. But our schedule has been on Mondays, make our way to the Buffett Center and get labs in the morning sometime. Then about an hour and a half later, have an appointment with one of my doctors. And it might not necessarily be my doctor, who is my official doctor, but it's either some of the other oncologists that work with him on his team. And it's a group of about 5 people, I would say. And we have different people. We have got an Ashley, an Angela, a Catherine, and then our main doctor, who we see the least amount because I believe he has the most busy and has the most responsibilities, although that might not be true. But we saw Angela a lot. We saw a lot of Catherine. We haven't seen much Catherine, actually, and then we saw a lot of Ashley. And there might have even been someone else in there, or Brittany, too, I'm thinking. But we had several different doctors we would see. They were all really great. And then, for the most part, that was the end of our Monday. So we would be done around noon or so, and it was right around lunchtime, so we would get some lunch, head back to the room here, and then we could spend the rest of the day here. And I would say when we first started doing that, it was harder because I didn't feel as good. We were still trying to, I was still feeling the effects of the transplant, and not the transplant necessarily, but all the radiation and the chemotherapy that they pumped into me before the transplant to make sure that it would work as good as possible. So I wasn't necessarily feeling the best. So a lot of the first few weeks we were here, especially that first Monday, Mom had to actually wheel me in the wheelchair down there, which was very funny because she kept hitting my feet on everything, and my leg was swollen, my knee was swollen. So when you get gout in your knee, you can't actually bend your knee in. It has to stay. Your leg has to stay mostly like.
Elevated, slightly.
Elevated and like unbent, I guess is the word I was thinking. And you certainly couldn't do what I'm doing now with folding my legs here. But having my leg like that on a wheelchair with my heel propped up on the metal stool or the metal thing that they have there for your feet to sit on, for your feet to rest on. It was the first time she'd ever pushed anyone in a wheelchair. It was the first time we'd ever used the elevators here without someone else. It was the first time we'd ever done any of that stuff, and she kept pushing me into things. We walked in the elevator, she pushes me right up against the other door
wall
of the elevator. Very funny. But then we go downstairs, get my labs, which are very easy. It's a open area in the bottom floor of the building where people just come, and I don't think it necessarily we always had a specific time we were supposed to be there because I had my PICC line still in at that time, which, by the way, guys, look, no PICC line anymore. It's a miracle. It's amazing. But we would get labs done. It's a neat process, and it usually takes, once I go in, it usually takes like maybe at that time with the PICC line maybe 10-ish minutes, I would say.
How many vials did they draw?
It's different every day. It can be usually, if it's just regular labs, it's just like 4 vials.
4 vials of blood.
And that's to check for any different number of things. But mostly we use it to check for platelets and things, just different parts of my things that your blood tells you. And we would do that and then go to a doctor's appointment and then come back. And so that would be our Monday, and then Thursday would be the exact same thing. So we got into a routine of doing that, and then as I felt better, which didn't take too long, the gout usually goes away after like 3 or 4 days for me.
I would say Patrick slept a lot when we first got here, probably for the first month maybe?
Probably.
He slept a lot.
Yeah, and I wasn't that hungry, and it wasn't...
No.
But we did go... Like, once I could walk, though. Once I could walk, we started going out a little bit more. Because at first, I did not really ever leave the room unless I had to. And so she would go to get stuff. So let's transition real quick into how we've been eating the whole time we've been here, because I think that's kind of interesting. So the day we met with the social worker who told us we were going to be coming to this place, he gave us 2 cards. You should have got the cards, but that's all right. Doesn't matter. They're just like it looks like 2 credit cards, basically. And they have a electrical...
sensor.
Like a slot on the... Like what you scan a debit card or a credit card. So they have... he gave us 2 cards. One said patient and one said attendant. And they were University of Nebraska cards. And they each had $24 programmed into them every day. And so we could each use our cards, or we could use both cards, every day for up to $48 worth of stuff if you combine both cards. And so here at this particular hospital, where we are, the closest food on a Monday through a Friday is the University Cafe, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a big cafeteria that is where people who work here can come, and then also there is for people who are unaware, this is an enormous hospital in Omaha, Nebraska. Omaha is a city with a population of 1 million people, and there is a college of nursing that is also attached to this facility. You don't even have to ever go outside. You can walk across the street in like this suite over thing, but like a walkway. But the College of Nursing is here, so there's a cafe and stuff for people, but they have their own cafe in their campus and everything as well. But oftentimes we do see large groups of students walking through the hospital and everything. So there's always a variety of people eating, but they have this relatively small area where they have, it's kind of, let's say, like a, what's the word I always forget? Where you have like you have at a casino or something where you have... It's kind of like a buff. It's not a buffet. A buffet is where you get whatever you want to eat. But there's like 4 or 5.
A mall.
A food court. Food court. Yes, that's exactly what I was trying to think of.
It's like a mall.
It's like a food court where there's like 5 different areas where you can go to get food you want. And several of those are always there every day. There's always an area where they can cook you like burgers and chicken and or chicken strips and chicken sandwich, and they make great fries there and onion rings. So there's that section. There's a section that's sort of like Mongolian. I think it says Mongolian food. We're simpletons. We just say it's the Chinese food section, where you can go and get like General Tso's chicken with lao mein noodles or with rice and stuff. That's always there. And then there is always an area that's always incredibly full, even though I don't get it, where they make chicken wraps. So there's those three things. There is a little fresh, like a little refrigerator area where you can get sushi, which I ate a lot of. And then there's there's a salad bar. That's there every day. There's a big salad bar that has different things every day. And then there's two areas that are different every day. And they alternate with what they don't alternate, but they change what they have every day. And it can be really great stuff. It can be absolutely terrible stuff that you're not interested in at all. And it's all pretty good, but I would say none of it's like super great, though I have had really good food here.
And none of it is anything you'd know of. Like, it's not a well-known restaurant chain or anything.
Oh yeah, right.
It's just hospital food.
Right, it's hospital food, but it's pretty good though. Like, and you can pick what you want. Like I said, there's quite a wide variety. And it's all the same people working there every day. So we've gotten to know a lot of the people who work there and people who check out, especially. We are pretty good friends with those guys. I would not say friends, but like you get to know people when you see them every day for so many days in a row. So that's closest to us. And then there's a little, what we call the corner store, but it's basically a gas station without the gas station part. There's a counter, and then there's a refrigerated section where they have all these drinks and everything, where you open this big tall thing and there's drinks and whatnot in there. There's different things, food in there that's refrigerated as well. And then they have like a coffee making machine off to one side, and they have a big sort of like soda fountain dispenser where you can choose only Coke products, because this stupid place has only Coke products. This really sucks, which is why I rep my Mountain Dew shirt as much as I can. But then they have just like sort of shelving with candy bars and things on them. So it's very much like a gas station store. Then if you want to walk a little further, you can go to the Buffett Cancer Center, where we're at a lot of the time, and they have a cafe that serves one thing, but it's one thing that's different from anything in the university cafe. So we do go down there sometimes to eat, and if we're down there and it looks good, we'll eat down there. And they have like a full meal. So they'll have like tacos down there. They'll have Indian food sometimes we've tried. They'll have really good noodles with artichokes, and you can choose chicken or you can choose beef, or you can have both. But that's a nice little place, but it's a little farther for us to go. But it's actually quite far to walk there. And then if we want to walk just a little bit farther than that, we can go to what's called the Clarkson Cafe, and that's in the Clarkson building here, and that has a Subway always in it that is a 24/7 open Subway. It's always open. And that is kind of a combination of all three things I just mentioned. They have a Subway. They have a little refrigerated section where you can buy anything you could buy in the like little like frozen burgers and things that you can take home in frozen pizzas, little things like that. But they also have sushi in there. They have some desserts. They have different things all in this like refrigerated frozen section. And you can also get drinks there. And then they also have a guy that works at a grill who can cook you the burgers and the chicken sandwich and fries and onion rings and things like that. And so the thing is, the cafe that I just talked about and the Buffett Center are only open Monday through Friday from 11?
No, 7.
No, the cafe. Well, okay, I guess. The cafe is open for breakfast from 7 to 10, and then for lunch from 11 to 2. But the Buffett Center is only open from 11, or no, they do have a breakfast there too.
They do.
So same hours there, 7 to 10, 11 to 2.
Yeah.
The Clarkson Cafe is open all time, and the corner store is always open 24/7, and we have a card that gets us into this building where we're in here, because there's several security doors we have to go through to get out into the actual hospital proper, and then we have a key, obviously, to our room door, so we keep all that on a chain. But there's an electronic key card that lets us out of this part of the building, and it also lets us into the corner store. So that's how we've been doing food. It's like I said, there's a variety. I'd say it wasn't until the last couple of weeks that we've been here, actually, that we've started to get a little frustrated with it. I think for the most part, and most people do not stay here as long as we're staying here. I don't think I've mentioned this yet, but the reason I'm actually filming this video right now is because we are leaving this place in the next couple of days.
Yay.
Yeah, I don't think I should have started that right off with this. This is
That's
a
okay.
celebration. But I wanted to film this video while we were still here in the hotel, in the hospital, so that we could get, everyone watching could get an idea of what we've been, kind of how we've been going through everything. So that's how our food situation has
Wait,
been.
I want to bring up one thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And that is water.
Oh, yeah.
The room that we are in has a bathroom with a shower and a bathroom sink.
Mm-hmm.
And that water in there is soft. So the only place we can get water to drink is to go to the Nebraska Cafe or the corner store.
Yeah.
Which after 2 o'clock, so at least twice probably during the day for sure, we have to go way over there to just get ice water, and we use the pop machine that has water with ice. So
And it's quite far. I mean,
many
it's,
trips to get
yeah.
water.
And
Just
like
water.
when we first got
We
here,
have to go down an elevator one floor, through a secure door, around on a wheelchair ramp, and then down
and then down a
long
very long hallway
to
Yeah.
get water.
Probably 100-yard hallway. So it may not sound like a lot, but it is. And I do have video of all these different places and things. So I don't know if I don't know if I'll be putting them here or not. But yes, and the amount of times that she's gone to get water without me is like, I would say probably 70% of the time you go get water without me. And especially when I first got here and I had gout and I just was sleeping a lot and I didn't feel the best. She just went and got water a lot. I mean, a lot. Like probably 4 times a day I would say we
At
had to
least,
get water.
Yeah.
And so that has been kind of a big bummer and something we would try to, if we could fix any or change anything here, we would have some sort of an ice and water dispensing machine here on the floor. So quickly about the hospital, we are in a building called the Lead Transplant Center building. This was a big hospital that was detached from everything at one point back in who knows how many decades ago. And since then, the hospital has sort of consumed it. I think it always was a hospital hotel, like a hotel for the hospital, but the hospital has consumed it. And now this 5-floor building that we're on, the 4th floor is the only floor that they use for people staying here. And generally, the people who stay here, from what we've experienced, are only here for a few days, maybe a week or so, but generally just 2 or 3 days. And it's people who are staying here because either their relatives or someone that they're here with are having some sort of a transplant, and they want to just spend the night here to be with that person again in the morning when they wake up. So they spend 1 or 2 nights here, and then usually most nowadays transplants are so easy that people can go home just after just a few days for most things. And we for sure are the longest people we've seen staying here. But when we first moved in, there were 2 people staying in the room next to us, and they were here for almost the entire time we've been here. They were a very wonderful couple, and she had
She had a liver transplant.
She had a liver
I believe,
transplant,
yeah.
and so they had to stay here for 100 days too, or around there. And they actually just got to go home last week. So we were told them goodbye. You had talked to them a lot more than I had.
did talk to
I'm
them,
generally polite to people in the hallway, but I don't go out of my way to talk to people. Whereas she'll go out of her way to like talk to people.
Yep. Hi.
And so they knew we were going to be leaving probably this week, but we said goodbye to them, and it was very nice to have someone here that's sort of more of a constant over this whole time. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of the people who stay here. We also did find out recently that there are some rooms here on this floor that are set up specifically for doctors who either have to stay here to do multiple surgeries in a day or something, or if they're just moving here and they're trying to find a place to live, they can stay here for a few days. But it's specifically for doctors and like maybe upper hospital staff if they have to stay here overnight for some reason. So that's this building. The other floors are all for different things. There's a floor that's mostly just like offices. There's a floor that is for transplants. They do transplants. I believe downstairs is diabetes on the first floor when we walk in. That's a diabetes center. And the 5th floor above us is psychology of some kind. So it's a big hospital building full of hospital stuff, and we just happen to be sandwiched in the middle in a hotel. So there's no amenities here in terms of like there isn't currently anymore because someone broke it last week. There was a microwave down at the end of the hallway. There's basically two ends of the hallway, and we are close to one next to an elevator. And then all the way down this long hallway, there's another elevator down there that can take you out to the front of the building. But there's also a set of chairs out there where people can sit if they want to sit outside, or like outside their rooms where people can kind of gather. And in that area, there's a table and a microwave. And so that's pretty much all we got. That's the only like hotel-y thing here. There is a I guess you could say like a maid service. There are people who clean the rooms and stuff. And when we first moved in, one of the ladies told us, she said, if you want to make sure all of your stuff is kept safely and nobody takes anything from your room, just put the do not disturb thing on your door, and then nobody will go in there to like clean anything or work on anything. But she said there's different people that clean different aspects of the room, and usually because people only stay here for a few days, they don't have any belongings with them. But us, since we've been here for 100 days, I have my computer here, I have all these things. I have my guitar here. We have a lot. I have my PlayStation right there. So like I have a lot of things in here that were valuable. And so the first day we got in here, we put that thing on the door, and we've never taken it off. No maid or anyone's ever been in here to clean anything. But don't worry, we'll clean the room before we leave.
I've cleaned it.
Yeah, we clean it. She went and got a vacuum from one of the people and vacuumed it already several times.
We change our own sheets.
And we're also very nice to all the cleaning people, the staff, and everyone. We talk to them.
They just give me stuff whenever they.
Yeah, so if we need towels,
4 towels and washcloth, they just give them to me.
Yeah.
We even take our trash ourselves and take it and put it
in this. They have a big area for trash.
And they give me new bags, so we've always taken care of all that ourselves.
Yep, and all the cleaning people are awesome. We've talked to a couple of them a few times. There have been people who've come and left since we've been here, but they're all really nice, and they smile when they see us, which I know from experience. Not all people who do that kind of work are super happy all the time, but it's nice that we try to be polite to everybody, obviously. But so that's kind of this building. In terms of the room itself, you can see it here, and I'll take a video and post it. I'm sure I've taken videos. I've taken multiple videos here throughout our time, but we basically took. There was a table in this corner where my table and everything is setting up, which you can't see in the video, and we took that and moved it over here. And I don't know. You can kind of see there's a table right here. That table was in this corner for someone to have their laptop and stuff on, but instead I brought a slightly bigger table that this is on. It's a card table, and it's the same thing I had in the hospital room on the 7th floor because there were no tables in there. So we moved that over there next to my bed, and I've been using it now as a place to put a lot of my medication and different things that I might need throughout the day or at night. And we put this over here, and this has kind of been my station for everything. We've recorded several reactions from here. We did Yes, we did Slayer recently. We've done several things from here. And more recently, I got my computer set up to work on music, which is why I do have my guitar, and I have my Pro Tools rig and everything set up here. And then I hooked up my PlayStation right away when we got here. However, I found out right away, one of my plans while we were here in the hospital the whole time, I had 2 goals. I was going to play a lot of PlayStation, and I was going to play through the entire Assassin's Creed Shadows, which just came out earlier this year. That was going to be one of my goals. And my other goal was going to be to make a lot of music. I was going to try to make a whole album while I was here, which is silly as it is silly, and I don't think I would have been able to do it even if I had everything set up the whole time. But those were 2 of my goals, to make some music and to play PlayStation. Well, I started playing Assassin's Creed, and you can see the TV up there. It's just too small, and you have to sit too far away. I would take one of these chairs we're sitting on here, and I would put it in the middle of the beds there, because you can't sit underneath a TV that's on the wall like this and looks directly up. And so the sound was awful. The chair, you have to sit an awful distance away. It's a small TV, and I don't want to make it seem like I have like a 100-inch TV at home. That's a 32-inch TV. And that's the size of TV I've had at home. But I have it down, and I have it sitting closer to me. And actually, that might be a 27-inch TV now that I look at it. But still, what I found was I could not play PlayStation. It did not work. I couldn't read the subtitles on the Japanese subtitles in the game, and so everything was. So I just gave up on that right away. And so I have barely played any PlayStation at all. We only use my PlayStation for Netflix and Peacock now, and occasionally hooking up to my nephew's PlayStation and watching him play whatever game he happens to be playing. So we've done that a few times, but for the most part, my PlayStation has gone completely unused, which has been a huge bummer for me. And so now I feel like I'm really behind on video games, but I will go home and play through Assassin's Creed there slowly over time, so that's fine. It's no big deal. It's like it normally would be. There's a closet over here where we put our clothes. I have my light set up back there. A chest of drawers here where we have some clothes and food and stuff. Not a big deal. And then there's a lamp here behind me, and 2 beds.
A little refrigerator.
Yeah, there's a little refrigerator
There's
here.
2 beds, and then the 2 chairs we're
beds.
sitting on
These 2 chairs
are the 2 chairs that we get with the room. There's no recliner or anything, no
Yeah.
comfortable chair, just 2 kitchen chairs. That's what came
one
in the
with
room.
arms and one without arms.
So we sit on the bed a lot.
We sit on the bed all the time, unless I'm working at my
Unless you
computer.
want to sit on this, which isn't comfortable.
Yeah. So we've been laying on the beds and sitting on the beds the entire time, which is one definitely bad thing for both of us, but I think more specifically for your back. But and then in the bathroom, it is a nice big bathroom, though I would take a smaller bathroom to have any extra room in here at all. However, I don't want to complain too much because I do think I have definitely stayed in nicer hotel rooms, but it's not that bad, and I don't want to complain about the room that much. So, yeah, I think the room is adequate. It's not necessarily super great, but it's not terrible. So
Our room is one of the rooms set up for a handicapped person in a wheelchair. So they did come in here once because they were looking how wide our door is if someone with a certain wheelchair in the future could come and stay and get through the bathroom door or not. But it's set up for a wheelchair.
While we're talking about the room, before we move on, the shower when we got here was absolutely terrible. It's like definitely the worst shower I've ever. It's not a bathtub and a shower. It's just a shower. Obviously, we wouldn't have a bathtub in a hotel. I don't think like this. But the head of the shower didn't move, wouldn't go up and down. Was like the stupidest thing ever. And it shot water in all directions, which for me, when we got here again, I had my PICC line, so I could never get my right arm wet, ever. My right arm or at this side of my body at all. And so it was very hard for me to take showers before that. I would just basically turn the water on at home. I would basically turn the water on like minimally. So it wasn't shooting out and just kind of trickling out, and then I'd take a shower that way. So I tried to do that here, and it still was shooting in all directions, so it was really hard for me to do. And then also there's a soap dispenser attached to the wall right to the right of where the shower head is, and it is just in the worst place. I hit it with my shoulder, my elbow, I probably would hit it with my head, but it's absolutely in the worst place. And also there's a seat you can sit on that folds up, but it doesn't fold up and stay up. It just folds up to fold up, I guess, for no reason. And so half the shower is taken up by this seat. It's really bad. It's really awful. It's a terrible shower. But when my aunt came to stay with us for a little while a few weeks ago, so that my mom could go home for a little while, my aunt came to stay with me. She just went and bought vinegar at a dollar store and soaked the head in vinegar twice, and then tried to use a brush to clean the head of the shower out. And since then, the shower's been like 1,000 times
Much better.
So she did a good job taking the initiative and actually doing that, because obviously we could have done that the whole time, but we were just choosing to wallow in our must suffer in our misery. And so that's the room in general. I don't think there's really much else about the room we need to talk about.
It faces
Oh yes,
the windows face a roof, a black roof, and there's buildings all around the roof. And the roof has heating elements on it so that if it snows, it would melt the snow in the wintertime. But we could walk out our window and about 6 inches down and go right on the roof if we wanted to. And it faces that. So
yeah.
It's there's no view, like you can't see the sky or the stars, not really, or anything, or the sun, the moon. We can't really see any.
Yeah,
of that,
from my
so.
bed, when I lay down, because I'm closer to the window, I can actually see a little bit of sky, but it's like this much, So it's not a lot. So it is a bummer of a view, but it is nice to have a window. There's a window, so at least that's something. So. Okay, so since we've talked about the room, now we're going to move on to talking about just sort of like what it's been like for us here. And since we did just talk about the room, I want to just talk about a few problems I had with some of my gear and stuff here. So if you remember, I think I said and mentioned in the last in update 4 that I had a lot of trouble connecting my computer or my PlayStation up to the internet here, the Wi-Fi here, and I actually had to call someone and tell them, like, I had to go deep into the settings of my PlayStation and tell someone the some weird like number, not just an IP number for internet, but some like deep like model number type thing, not a model number, but some sort of a deep like a number that they had to put into the system so that my PlayStation could access the internet. Well, when we moved to this location, it's the same internet. So it is still the same exact Wi-Fi internet we've had. It's the same internet on our phones. It's the same Wi-Fi for everything. And so I assumed everything would be fine. However, for some reason, moving my computer from that location over to here, it caused the internet to not work anymore. And so I spent over 2 hours, one of the first nights we were here, talking to an IT guy on the phone, trying to get my computer connected to the internet. And at the end of those 2 hours, he and I we had talked for so long. He was a really great guy. I wish I could remember his name to shout him out, though obviously he will never see this. But at the end of those 2 hours, we were both like, look, we can't do anything else right now. It was like after midnight at that point. And so we were like, we'll call it good. And so the next morning I got up and I looked and my internet was working on my computer. It was a miracle. And it's been working this whole time. So, but we did so many things. I had to disable my firewall. I did all these other things. I tried so many different things. And since then I haven't had any trouble. And it was just very funny. And I had something similar happen to me that was incredibly frustrating. This was one of the most frustrating things that happened to me the entire time we've been here. But my nephew, who I mentioned several times, Hunter, in this video already, he turned 14 earlier this year, and his mother and I have been discussing whether or not he could play Grand Theft Auto. Well, unbeknownst to either of us, he went out and bought himself a copy of Grand Theft Auto and started playing it about a month ago now at this point. And so his mom, whose name is Sarah, I'll talk about her a lot in this video later on a little bit, I think. Sarah and I were debating, like, should he play Grand Theft Auto or not? And especially anyone that knows anything about Grand Theft Auto Online can be pretty ruthless. But he already does play games online. He plays a lot of things online. And once you played one game online, they're all the same. And he really, I don't think, has any intention of playing through the Grand Theft Auto story. And when you play Grand Theft Auto Online, you can play in your own server, and you don't have to play with other people. So you can just kind of get to know the game yourself, which is kind of what he was doing. Well, so anyway, I found out he was doing this, and I was like, man, you should have told me. Grand Theft Auto is like one of my favorite games of all time. I would absolutely go out, buy a copy of GTA for my PS5, and play with you. We could play online all the time. I was like, this is like a miracle. This is what I want. I want him to want to play games with me, and I want to be here at the hospital where we have free wireless Wi-Fi that's really fast and good, unlike our crappy internet at home that charges us per gigabyte. So I started this journey that turned into this nightmare of trying to be able to get Grand Theft Auto to work on my PlayStation. And long story short, because of the Wi-Fi here and the way it's set up, I cannot play GTA 5 on my PlayStation. And so we did find out, and we did it once, we could play on my phone's hotspot, but that uses an incredible amount of data, and it's just not practical. So we've only been able to do it once. But once I go home, we'll be able to play, but I know my internet's not going to be as good, so it's kind of a bit of a bummer. But all the amount of frustration I've had over Grand Theft Auto, you can attest. We drove home one day so I could get something from home. I came back, I set stuff up. We had to go back home again to get GTA 4 so I could try it. I had to get my PS4 out.
It, I think.
No, we had to go home to get my PS4.
Okay.
That's what it was. We had to go home to get my PS4. I hooked up my PS4 in our kitchen, and I had to reinstall GTA 4 on my PS4, load in, upload my save, come here. Couldn't get GTA 5 to work, so I had my dad bring GTA 4 here, managed to transfer the save. All of it was for nothing because that won't work. It was just very frustrating. So that was something that was very a big bummer, and something that those are some tech issues I've had, which were just something that's, I would have to deal with that crap at home as well. But here it was a little tougher because I just couldn't understand what was going on with that. So that was something I wanted to mention. so that in the future I can be like, oh yeah, that was really a very frustrating thing.
Also, we had no cable
Yeah, there was several
or
days.
TV.
Yeah, there was about 4 days or so, 5 days maybe in a row, which we're not huge TV people,
No.
and I think I've said in previous videos that we watched a lot of the Food Network when we were on the 7th floor in the hospital because there was just nothing else to watch, and we're not normally Food Network people, but we watched a lot of Food Network. And so we've been watching like Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune and stuff in here, but when there's nothing to watch because there's no TV, that kind of sucked. And then also we've gone for several days without Wi-Fi. We had like 4 or 5 days without Wi-Fi, which
Yeah.
was a separate thing
Yeah.
too. So it has just been several things. Let's see what else. Let me look at my thing here and get some.
We also could comment on that relating to TV. We listen to music at night while we sleep pretty much every night.
Yeah, and I mentioned that one in the other place. I had
okay.
my
I
Alexa
didn't know
there,
if you
and we
did.
brought the Alexa over here. She's right over
on that brown count.
I can't see
the
my
dresser.
finger right here.
Yeah.
In this area right here. So we have her play music a lot at night when we're trying to sleep, and then we can have her play whatever. But we do use that still. That's a good way for us to try to fall asleep.
It's calming.
If we're having a bad
nighttime
night, because
music.
there have been a lot of nights where either she, for her own reasons, couldn't sleep, and then where I, for my reasons, couldn't sleep. We've had a lot of bad nights, whether something's hurting or we're worried about something or whatever. There's a lot of times where that happens, and so if that is happening, I'll either, if it's really bad and we're both awake, I'll be like, Mom, I'm gonna put on an episode of this mass what I listen to on Spotify. It's like the Daily Catholic Mass, it's called. And so I'll put that on because I can I fall asleep during that almost every time. It's just it's a 30-minute Mass.
Yeah.
And so I'll put that on as a last resort. And if that doesn't work, then you might as well get up and walk around. But I'll do that sometimes. But most times I'll just put on just like generic music.
Speaking of getting up and walking around, that can transition you into what happened when you did one night.
Yeah, one night we were. This was a couple of weeks ago. We were. I could not sleep, and it was so bad, and I just couldn't sleep, and so it was 4:00 in the morning, and so I got up. This will tell you a little bit about the hospital, the state of the hotel here. I got up to walk. I was going to go outside. So for us from here, we can go to one end of the hotel and go, or the one end of our hallway, and we can go down and make our way into the hospital. We can go to the other side of the hallway here, and we can make our way down to the outside area, which is there's a big outdoor section of the hospital called the Durham Outpatient Center where patients are released. And it's this giant sort of U-shaped area where people park their cars to pick up people who are being released or to let people off. And all day it's very busy. And there's a section right in front of our building which has 3 little benches for people to sit on, and there's some trees, and there's a nice area of grass.
And 3 bunnies.
And 3 bunnies that live there, which we go look at the bunnies, and there's birds. And it's actually very nice.
It's nice.
And so we go sit out there a lot.
And we park right across from that in a parking
We park right across from that in a parking lot.
in a parking
So we actually
garage.
pretty lucky that we get to park pretty close to here if there's a spot open, because not they're always there. There always isn't. But it was 4:00, and I was like, I'm just gonna go walk outside and see what it's like. And it was the first time either of us had tried to do that at night, like that late at night. We'll be outside sometimes if we're looking at weather or clouds or something. But
4th of July.
yeah, but so I left the room and I started walking down the hallway, and the entire hallway was flooded. Not up to our room, but like a vast majority of the hallway was flooded with water. And so I ran up and I looked, and you could hear water rushing from one of the rooms. And so I ran back to the room and I woke Mom up, and I was like, Mom, we need to call the desk because there is flooding. It's flooding. And so we have a phone in our room that has only rang like 4 times. It's not a rotary phone, but it's an actual phone down on the floor. We have it down here. And so we picked it up and called the number, which Mom knows by heart.
I do.
And they answered and said, yeah, we know it's flooding. We called someone. That's all it was.
And there was just water running.
And so eventually they did come and stop it. And then for 2 weeks after that, they had these they called a company, had them come in, and they had these giant machines out in the hallway that basically dried the carpets and everything, so they wouldn't have to change anything. And it was a pretty big deal. It made it very hot in here for a couple of days.
Dehumidifiers also.
Yeah.
They had huge fans and dehumidifiers, huge long extension cords running down along the wall into there's a laundry room on this floor with a washer and dryer in it. They were using that.
Those
The extension
outlets.
cords hooked up to those outlets, probably because they're bigger outlets and could handle more.
Yep.
And they had some of the windows open. It was hot to get the air going in and out. So it was hot on our floor
Yeah.
in the hallway. For
Like
a
the
long
machine,
time.
the humidifier things were very
loud,
hot. Like if you
and they were
touched them,
noisy,
yeah, they were
too.
very loud. But if you touched them, you could have burned yourself. And they had 4 of them on the hallway, kind of here, 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 here.
Yeah.
And so that was there for 2 weeks, and it was crazy and loud, and it just was. I think I filmed one video while that was up, and you can hear them in the background.
Yeah.
But it was a weird thing. And we found out that on the floor above us, a main had broken, and then it was flooding one room up there. The water was coming down and flooded 6 rooms on our floor, and then 3 rooms on the floor
down
below us. Yeah,
We're on the 4th floor.
we're on the 4th floor. Let's see, what else? We've got... I do want to mention that a couple of times my sister and I did mention my Aunt Connie. She came to stay with us.
Quite a few times.
Yeah, well, I guess what I'm trying to say is we've had family come and stay with us a couple of times. I've had 2 friends come and visit. My cousin Cody came and stayed with me over the weekend, and we had a weekend where we went and did a bunch of garage sailing and stuff, and I filmed a whole video about that. And then I had my friend Chris on the channel who does reactions here. Cody does reactions with me, but so does my friend Chris Schoenberg. He came and filmed a reaction with me here. We did our first ever Slayer reaction I mentioned earlier. So I had a couple people come visit me.
Annie also, your other
Well, hold
aunt.
on. I'm just saying friends who came to visit me.
Oh, friends.
But then also, one of the main things we were worried about this entire process of staying in Omaha for these 100 days was, one, I live at my parents' house on a farm, basically out in the middle of nowhere, an hour and a half from here. And we live, it's mom and dad and I. And so moving here, we're going to be leaving my dad at the farm by himself for 100 days, which my dad's kind of pathetic. He can't cook for himself, really. I mean, he can. He's a totally functioning human being, and we joke about him that he's pathetic. So he's had a fun time this whole 100 days, basically there without us. He's had a great time. And had to find food for himself and everything. That was one of the things we were worried about. But the other thing we were worried about was, we have a big garden at our home. We have every summer, and there's lots of area plants and lawn to be mown and stuff like that. And so we knew at certain times, and bills to be paid, obviously. And so we knew at certain times that mom was going to have to go back home. Plus, who would want to stay here the whole time? I was really worried that we would go stir crazy if it was just the 2 of us here the whole time. And so before we came in here, we were trying to figure out who was going to be able to come stay with me. And we were asking a couple people, and a couple people said yes. And then we found out later that they are too scared to drive in Omaha, which is kind of silly, but that's fine. I understand it. I have driving anxiety myself, but here I am. I drive in Omaha if I have to. So we did have some family come and stay with me a few times when mom had to go back home or just needed to go home for a few days for whatever reason. Generally to go with my dad to a doctor's appointment, or if there was things that had to happen at home. And so the people who did come and stay with me was my Aunt Annie, my Aunt Connie, and then my sister Sarah came to stay with me a couple times. And also, by the way, my dad comes to visit us somewhat regularly. He'll come visit. When we first got here, he came and visited us almost every weekend. And then we got a little more comfortable here. He got comfortable at home. And then he'll come visit us maybe every other weekend or so. But Annie, my Aunt Annie came to stay with me a couple of times. And that was really funny because one story that happened while she came to do that was I had been getting a bit of a rash. We haven't talked about any of the medical stuff that's happened to me this whole time, but there's been a lot of things. Most of it, I would say, was not unexpected, and it wasn't very bad. It was just sort of like little things here and there that would maybe bother me for like a week, and then the next week it would be something different, and then the next week it would be something different. And it wasn't anything that was very debilitating at all or anything like that, right? You don't really...
No, other than the gout.
Other than having gout, which I've gotten twice since we came here.
Has it now?
And I haven't, well, kind of, my feet hurt now, but But nothing really where I had to lay down or whatever and couldn't get up or anything for long periods of time. For the most part, I was okay to get up, walk around. I could take care of myself. Essentially, just for legal purposes, someone has to be here. And so when my Aunt Annie came, though, it was on a Monday, and we had an appointment. So we had my regular appointments. And so Mom never likes to miss appointments ever. She likes to be there for all of them, but she had to go do something with my dad that day.
Yep.
So my aunt came to stay with me, and so she was like, okay, well, I'll just go with you, whatever. And when we go to appointments, she goes with me every time. But when people come and stay with me, I'm like, you guys don't need to go into the appointments with me. You can just sit out here in this area or whatever. And so in this particular instance, we did the normal routine of getting my blood checked and then sitting down there and waiting an hour. And she did just like what we did when we first got here. You're always amazed at how many people there are, and then you feel sad because there's so many people in a building for cancer. It's like why all these people have cancer, or they're family members of people who have cancer. And so that was something a year ago or a year and a half ago that we had to get used to ourselves.
When we never thought about it. You don't think about it when you're not in that kind of a world.
Right. And we're not hospital people. We don't go to hospital all the time.
And you don't think about other people having problems. Like, you don't want to, I guess, because
you
can't live like that. But
and so anyway, this was my Aunt Annie's first time here with me, and her first time seeing the hospital. And so she was sitting with me, and we were looking at all the people, and it was interesting and fun. And I mean, we have infinite number of stories of seeing people walk through, or I have a lot of stories of talking to people who were just sitting by me because they asked me a question or overheard something or whatever. I have lots of stories of that, but we're not going to talk about individual things like that in this video, because we talk and meet to people here all the time that everybody's here for a reason, and it's a lot of the time it's the same reason you are with little tweaks to it. So people, I think, are a little bit more willing to talk about themselves in an environment like this. But in this case, Annie and I were sitting there, and we were looking at all the people, and then it was time to go up to my appointment. And so we went up to our appointment, and I told Annie she didn't need to be there for it because she could just stay in this nice area off to the side, and I'll go to my appointment. So I went and did that, and at the time I was talking about whatever was bothering me, but I know one thing I had a bit of a rash, and it was sort of a rash on my legs, but mostly on my thighs, and I had it on my stomach, and there was a little bit on my arms here, both arms. And so they were afraid that every medical thing, they want to try to avoid having a thing called GVHD, which is graft versus host disease. And that's for someone who's gotten a transplant. And in my case particularly, I got a transplant of bone marrow, of stem cells in my blood. So it can affect like pretty much anything in my body. It can manifest however, in basically like anything. And so for me, medically, like over these last 100 days, if I did have something that bothered me, they would try to give me medication to get rid of that. And if it went away, then that was great. And if it was some sort of graft versus host disease, if they could get rid of it with medication, a lot of the times it was steroids or something specific for whatever that particular ailment was, and it went away, then that was great. That's exactly how they treat it. And the entire time I've been taking medication I mentioned in the last video called tacrolimus, which is my after the transplant drug, the one I've been taking since that to sort of help prevent getting cancer back, to help the transplant process go well and everything. And so all of that stuff's been fine, just to get that out of the way. But in this particular day, I was talking about this rash, and also I mentioned something about she thought I might be a little dehydrated. And so later in the day, they scheduled me to go up to the second floor in Buffett, the cancer center, which is the infusion center. They scheduled me to go up there and get fluids, and so that's something that usually takes like an hour. They hook you up to your at that point I still had my PICC line, so it's super easy. And so they said while you're doing that and getting that like hour-long procedure, we're going to have one of our oncologists go up there and give you do a biopsy of your skin to see, and then they will study the sample or whatever to see if this rash is graft versus host disease or what's causing it, and then we'll be able to give you a cream for it or something, or give you steroids if we have to. And so we went up there, and the nurse that I had, which we've been on the second floor of the infusion center here countless times, like many, 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 many times. Yeah. And so we know a lot of the nurses. We don't know all of them because they have a lot of nurses that work there because they have a lot of rooms, and they're always all busy. But the nurse, I'd had her before, so we were chatting a little bit, and she set up the bag of fluids and started it going. And then while she was doing that, the lady came in to do the biopsy. And so she was working at it, and she had her tray of stuff, and she's used to doing it herself. But since my nurse was there, she asked her if she would help a couple of times. So the nurse ended up just helping kind of through the whole thing. And it was not an interesting procedure at all. They just like basically took a little sample of my skin, like about the amount I would say that is a slightly smaller than the eraser on the end of a pencil. They take a little amount like that out of your skin, and then she had a little trouble putting Band-Aids on it and stuff to stop it from bleeding. But it all went just fine, and it was fine, and we were laughing the whole time like I do with anyone that's doing a procedure to me or anything like that. And so then they both left, and the nurse told me before she left, okay, we should be done in about 45 minutes or something, and it took about 15 minutes to do the procedure. So we about 45 minutes left on your fluids, and then you can then you'll be good to go. I'll come back and get you unhooked, and we'll be good to go. And so before the procedure started, I had told my aunt, I was like, you can just go sit out in the waiting room, because she enjoyed sitting in the waiting room, just like looking at people and seeing people out there. And so I told her, I was like, it's probably way less comfortable in here. The seating in the rooms is not that comfortable in the infusion center. So I was like, go sit out in the waiting room. If you want, go get yourself some lunch and come back up. She knew where all that stuff was because I'd showed it to her on her way up there. And so she went down, got herself some lunch, came back, sat. She was out there for a long time, and she started to wonder what was going on. Well, I fell asleep while I was getting the fluids, and then I woke up, and I was kind of just, sitting ready to go, and my nurse came in to check on me, and she's like, okay, the fluids should be done, and we both looked up at the bag, and it was 100% completely full. Something had gone wrong with one of the cables, and then the machine didn't register it as anything being wrong, but the fluid had not moved at all. So she had to get a new machine, hook up the bag again, and start the process over. So in the end, my aunt ended up sitting out in the waiting room for like 2.5 hours, waiting for me to get a simple 45-minute infusion with a 15-minute thing on top of it. And so that was a really funny day. And it was the first day she was here, first time she'd stayed with me, first time she'd seen the hospital or anything like that. So that was kind of a fun day that I remember very vividly. And it was the first day that I had something where she wasn't here with me for it. So that was kind of a fun thing that happened. And so along with my aunt being here, Aunt Annie being here a couple of times to come help us out when Mom needed to go home, my sister Sarah has come and stayed with me a few times. And when she comes, she likes to utilize the fact that we're in Omaha. So another thing I should mention is that while we're here, in Omaha, my doctor made it a point to tell us, if you guys want to go somewhere and do something, you can. Don't be out for long periods of time, really, and don't go to places that are super
populated.
Yeah, like don't be in a big crowd of people, basically. And so he was like, if you want to go grocery shopping, go grocery shopping. If you want to go to Goodwill or whatever, because he knew we like to go thrift shopping, he's like, go to Goodwill, do whatever. Make sure you're clean. Make sure you wash your hands. Wear a mask if you need to. He probably did tell me to wear a mask. I never wear a mask, but. So it's not like we've been stuck here in the room or anything like that. We do go places. We've tried different places to eat. We've tried all different things. So when my sister comes and stays with me, she knows that we can go try some food. She can go to she can go to places here in Omaha she would like to go. My sister lives 2.5 hours from us. So she lives like 3.5 hours almost 4 hours from Omaha. So she liked to take advantage of a couple of the places here in Omaha she could go to. And so I would just stay here and take a nap or sleep for a while, and she would go, get a couple of things and look through some stores that she doesn't have access to normally. That was a couple of things she's done. But one of the main things we did when she was here was she liked to go use the coffee machine in the corner store. She really loved that thing. She wants to try to get something like that for her office at her new job she starts this year. But another thing we did was we went walking. My sister and I went walking. We explored the hospital. We went to a couple of different places we'd never seen before. We discovered a few new places. And we'll talk about those at the end of the video because I want to end the video talking about the hospital in general. But that's something I really enjoyed doing with Sarah while she was here, was going out and exploring parts of the hospital and just having fun with doing that. And then the third person that came to stay with me was my Aunt Connie. And she was very wonderful. She came and stayed in Nebraska here for 30 days.
3 weeks.
For 3 weeks, sorry, 3 weeks,
3
yes.
weeks.
Oh, towards the end of June, and then she left on July 1st. So
Yep.
she was just here recently. But she came and stayed with us. She flew here from their house, their home in Washington State, and she stayed at our house in my room basically, with my dad. And so she would help make him food and help him on the farm and everything that we do when we're there normally. But it was nice to have them stay together. They're brother and sister, so it's she is from my dad's side of the family. And then mom got to go home for several days in a row, multiple times, when Connie came to stay with me. And so she and I had a lot of fun. Our personalities are a little bit different, but they're also similar. So we had fun. We would butt heads a little bit every now and then, but for the most part, I'm so glad she was here, and I loved all the time that she was here. We had fun doing different things. But one of the things I have to mention that we did, and I have pictures and video of this, so I'll include that during this time here, but years ago, my dad had heard from someone that there was this great chicken place to go eat at in Omaha. And so Connie, while we were here, she said, let's go. She's going to look up online. Now, she had technology and she knew how to use it now, of how to find things. So she's like, I found this place in Omaha, this chicken place. We're going to go there. And it was a Saturday afternoon. And so we were going to head there at some point. It was probably around 5 o'clock or so. We weren't thinking about being busy at all. But all I knew was that it was this chicken place. And so we drive way out of town. Like she said, it was 15 miles from here, or 8 miles from here. But we took a wrong turn and ended up going a different way, driving way out of town. And I was like, man, where are we going? So she took me to this place. You can look it up online. This is a real thing, and I'll show pictures here too. It's a restaurant called the Alpine Inn. And it is a bit of a destination here in Omaha, I guess, for people who are visiting, for tourists and stuff. And the shtick of this place is that it's basically a bar. That they have this long bar, and then they have this separate room where they have people eating, and then they have an outdoor area and then a pool table area as well. But basically, you go there and you're eating with raccoons. They have this big window this wall that is just a big window that you can look outside, and they've built these like tree houses out there because it's kind of elevated. The restaurant is a little elevated on this steep hill. And so they built these kind of like tree houses in this deck, and then you can see down to the ground too. It's not that high. But where for years and years they've been feeding these raccoons, this big, enormous family of raccoons, the leftovers from people in the restaurant. So the shtick of the restaurant is you go there, and whatever you don't eat, they give to the raccoons, and you can sit there and watch these raccoons eat. And while we were there, we had to wait over an hour to get a table. We drove up, and the drive was amazing and beautiful. Like trees on both sides hanging over the road. It was gorgeous. And then when we got there, we could not believe the number of cars. I mean, there was 50 cars, and this is a small place. There was a lot of cars. And so we went in, we got a number, we went back and sat in the car because it was hot, and there were so many people inside, and I didn't want to be cramped up with all these people in this bar. Mm-hmm. So we went and sat in her car, turned the air conditioner on. She had a rental car. And so we waited, we got in, and they let us in, and we happened to have the best table in the entire place, a table for just at most 4, but usually hopefully 2, right next to the window, next to these raccoons. And so while we were there, we ate next to the raccoons the whole time. There were always raccoons there. It was very weird. We were debating about how cool it was rather than how disgusting it was. And we live on a farm, so we know raccoons are just vermin, basically. And we've had to catch and release raccoons at our house even recently because they ruin your area. And so it was a fun thing. It was a funny day. We had no clue about the raccoons when we were going to do this. It was literally just recommended as good chicken. So it was a very funny thing. It was something I'll probably go back there someday just because it was a weird experience. I'll take some people there, I would assume, someday. But it was really funny and something I wanted to mention in this video because it was just a fun story. So that was my aunt, Connie, being here, and I'm so grateful that she came. She flew here, like I said, just for the purposes of staying here. And so you got to go home and be home for a while. Was that a good?
Oh, yeah. I got to work outside and pull a whole bunch of weeds, which when we go home, I'll be able to pull some more, you know. It was nice of her to come and spend the time and so that I could go home, you know.
Yeah.
It was nice because we had pre-asked her ahead of time if she could come help by any chance, and
Yeah.
she already, you know, she had planned on it, so she said yes, and that way she got to spend time with her brother, and also she cooked for him, and she's the type of person that if there's a problem, she's addressing it right away.
She just goes and fix it.
Patrick and I, we just live with the problem. Like,
Yeah, we do.
We just,
We do.
It's like, well, this shower's clogged, so what? You
Yeah.
know, we're just gonna get wet all over. And she fixed it right away. Gets right in there and so we decided we both need to be a little more like her
Yeah.
because we
And
need to address problems.
And she also got to, like, she did have time on her own as well. She got to go with my dad
Visit.
up to see Sarah and her family.
Yeah. And she got to visit relatives.
She got to
or
visit
friends.
relatives, see friends here
Here
in
in
Nebraska.
Omaha,
I mean,
too.
she's from Nebraska, so
Yeah.
so she got to see people. So I think she had a good trip as well.
Yeah.
And her husband, my uncle Terry, wasn't able to come because he just wasn't feeling the best, but he was still good enough to be home by himself. And they talked every day. We talked to him on the phone here
Yeah.
every day he was here. So we were very thankful to them for being able to do that. And so I have had people come. Sarah, along with coming to stay, she did come and just visit twice with Hunter and once with Hunter and Chloe, my niece and nephew, and once just with my niece to come and trade something or whatever. But she's come a couple times. So my niece and nephew have been here a few times. And so that was always fun when they come. Usually when they come, we go out and do something like go to a restaurant or go to Target or somewhere fancy like Walmart to have some fun for a while. We don't stay here and do anything because there's nothing to do here really. But we have showed everyone around the hospital. Okay, let's see. So that's this, and we do not have to talk about
And while
everything.
Sarah was here, she did find a couple different places for me to go because I would go sit in the areas that are like garden areas.
Yeah, we'll talk about that at the end.
Oh, you're
We'll
gonna
talk
do that?
about the
Okay.
areas of the hospital specifically at the end. Let's see. One crazy thing that happened to us while we were here. Well, when we first got here, and I have footage of this, so I'll mention it so I can throw it in. When we first got here, there was a crazy storm. And it's that time of year in Nebraska. If you're unfamiliar with Nebraska weather, we get all sorts of weather here. But for us, we're known for one of the areas in the United States where it's the most extreme. We get the coldest colds at the hottest hots. And in the same day, you can have like an 80-degree temperature change. And that's not a joke or an exaggeration. But when we first got here, there was a crazy storm where we had these just. I took pictures and video out the window, and I'll insert some of that here, where just so much hail. It looked like snow everywhere. It was absolutely crazy. And we were talking to my dad on my phone at the same time, and I found out that I can't take pictures and video at the same time as I'm talking to someone via like Facebook Messenger. So that was kind of funny.
I think you're in a tornado warning.
Yeah, hold on one sec.
Can you hear me yet? Hello?
That's too much.
Hello?
Midwest people do this all the time, but if we know it's going to storm, we try to go outside and like look at the clouds and just sit outside for a while as it's cooling off, because generally it's really hot this time of year. And so we had a lot of fun just going through and looking at the clouds and spending time outside and enjoying the weather. Generally, since we're staying in Omaha, all the news stations, they talk about Omaha because this is where there's a million people, whereas we live an hour and a half away, so the weather might be different out there than it does in Omaha. So we found ourselves paying a bit more attention to the local news because we're in the locality of the news. You know what I mean? So we've been doing that a little bit more too, which is kind of fun. But the weather has just been a fun thing, and something that we've been having different. In this area of Omaha, they have flooding a lot on a road called Saddle Creek, which is right over by the hospital here. And so several times while we've been here, it's flooded here a little bit, but not super bad or anything. But while that's happening here, it's also storming at home. And so if you remember in the last video, I was talking about the crazy snowstorm that happened right before we came into the hospital and kind of screwed up my preparations for all of this. We lost a lot of trees that day. We had trees break and bend in half on our the trees that block the wind. What's that? Wind block?
Windbreak.
Windbreak. We had trees break. We had trees in our backyard. And then we've had several pretty crazy storms and very high winds that have knocked over even more trees. So every time we go home, which I've only been home twice this whole time, and once was for a funeral, and once was because we were having a bit of a party over the last couple of weeks to celebrate Connie while she was home. And that was, both times were just for one day. And so, or part of a day. And so when I go home, it's like our yard is different. We have a very large yard because, again, we live on a farm. And so I go in our backyard, and it's trees that have been there since I was a kid are gone now. And my dad has had to clean all of those himself, which is really, it sucks. That's the kind of stuff we usually do all together, pick up sticks, and then Dad and I will cut the tree up and load the wood or stack the wood somewhere, or we'll drag the tree away and make a big pile and then get a burn permit and burn it once a year. But it's really sucks to know that the landscape of our house is changing while we've been here. It seems like it's been years and years, but it's only been 100 days. So, okay, let's see. I'm trying to think if anything any other medical things have happened. I don't want to totally gloss over that stuff, but I really don't think anything too serious has happened.
Not too serious.
I mean, honestly,
just little things.
Yeah, and I am the type of person where if something bad happens to me, I try to forget about it immediately. Like the next day, I don't think about it anymore, which is bad because then it's hard for things like this when we're trying to remember what happened. But when I go back and look at videos of me when we were in the hospital, I'm like, oh my God, I was close to death. I mean, it was terrible, but we haven't really had anything like that here.
No.
I've been sicker on occasion, and there have been times when they thought something was wrong, maybe it wasn't. I've had to give them stool samples. I've had to, we've tested
Extra
everything.
blood.
We've done this. We've gotten extra tests. We've gotten everything.
Bone marrow biopsies, lumbar punctures.
No lumbar punctures since.
Just bone marrow biopsies.
Just bone marrow biopsies. Oh, and that's another thing we can mention. My doctor wanted me to sign up for this trial of a new drug that's, if it works good, the purpose of it is to prevent my leukemia from coming back, and for also making the transition, keeping the transplant working fully for a longer period of time, which it should work theoretically for the rest of my life, and theoretically, hopefully, the cancer will never come back. So this is just to help that whole thing. And so we had to sign a bunch of papers and agree to all this stuff. And then once that trial actually started, we've actually done one of those so far. We had to get a bone marrow biopsy, which they attached it to this other one, which for those of you who don't know what a bone marrow biopsy is, I have to lay on my stomach and you watch the procedure, but they basically take a drill, they drill into my hip bone, kind of.
More into your back?
It's between the back and butt. But it's like top of the tailbone, kind of.
Yep.
And they drill into it, and then they stick this big needle in there, right? And then they suck out fluid from inside of a bone, from bone marrow.
Yep.
And so that's how they can test if there's any cancer left in me and all that stuff. I've had many of these done last year.
Many.
I did, I think, 15 of them or so.
Yeah.
Along with 30 lumbar punctures.
Yeah.
But so we had to do one for this trial, and that was kind of a bummer, but it was fun. We just did another bone marrow biopsy recently for the trial, and then also because we were nearing our 100 days. And there was a guy who did it that was I guess, learning to be a doctor. And so that was kind of fun, but it's the first time I've had a male do it. And the lady who was there was the lady who's done biopsies and lumbar punctures on me before. I don't know what kind of a doctor that is exactly, but something. But she was there kind of guiding him and watching him and stuff. And she was like, now remember, you're a man, so you're stronger than all of us ladies.
Yeah.
And so you don't push as hard, slower.
It worked better for him.
And he
just pushed it in.
Yeah, thank goodness he said that. But also I was like, you could feel, it felt like someone stronger was pushing on me. Mm-hmm. It was very interesting. And I have had many men do the lumbar punctures, but that is a much more precise thing, and I don't think it doesn't matter. And the guy did a great job at the end of the day, but I've had a lot of, I don't know what you call them, but people ghosting the nurses and students and people on, we have to go do what they call a sabbatical, or not a sabbatical, that's the opposite. When you go do a year at a hospital before you go back to your hospital you want to have your job at, you go study or whatever.
Right.
So I've had lots of people who were students or studying or learning to be a doctor or just became a doctor or someone. I've had lots of people do stuff to me throughout the year. one thing that I do want to mention, which is not a really fun thing, but it is something that I want to mention, is one crazy big thing that happened while we were here. We were eating food in the room, and Mom got incredibly, very, very sick. Very sick, right?
I did.
I mean, you can speak to all this too. But basically, she was worried that something was very wrong with her. And so we had to we don't need to tell the whole story about it, but there was a lot of crazy stuff involved here. But basically, we called emergency from the hotel down here, from the red reception area. Mm-hmm. And they called emergency, and we had emergency people from the hospital come to us here in the building, and we refused the ride in an ambulance around the hospital, which I'm sure would have cost us billions of dollars. I refused that. Mom wasn't thinking a lot at the time, but she was very sick. Made it downstairs. Then they put her in a wheelchair, and we went this weird, wacky way to the emergency area here at the hospital. It was the first time any of us had been to the emergency area. We went down there, and then she was admitted to a room, and she stayed there overnight, and then most of the next day. So she was there for almost a day and a half. My Aunt Annie and my aunt, what have I been saying this whole time? Doesn't matter. My Aunt Annie and her husband Dan came.
And brought your dad.
Brought
Garrett, yeah.
Yeah, did he?
Yeah.
Did they? Why didn't he just come himself?
No, they brought him, and then he took our car back home.
Now, I don't remember all the details, but I was going to say Dad was here too. And so it was a crazy time, and none of my doctors know this at all. They don't know anything about this part of it, and that it ever even happened. So basically, what we ended up finding out was what?
Well, I thought I was having a heart attack, is
Mm-hmm.
what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
I had just eaten something, and I just got immediately sick.
In a way you've never felt before.
And I felt pain like up here higher in my chest, like in my shoulder, right below my shoulder blade.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what it was I have a hiatal hernia, which is not serious really or anything, but for some reason I felt like I was having a heart attack, and then
Mm-hmm.
I realized or found out that's lower down when you feel like you're having a heart attack, it's lower down in your chest,
Mm-hmm.
not up here in your shoulder blade.
But you've never had a heart attack before, so
extremely bad, and I threw up a lot.
yes.
It was not good, but I mean, I'm fine now. So
And now that all sucks. But to me, that whole experience will always be about being in the waiting room at the emergency room, because holy cow, is that a different part of the hospital. My aunt and we would change out who could sit in the room with Mom overnight, and so whichever combination of people was sitting out in the waiting room. Oh my gosh. There's just crazy people in the waiting room of an emergency, area at a hospital. And I don't even want to go into like details too much, but it was a crazy experience. It was very different. It was a different part of the hospital. We were totally way away. We did not know where we were at all. It was crazy. And then Dad stayed. And Annie and Dan went back. Dad stayed with me here. We had to come back and sleep. I had to sleep. I was so weak and just like couldn't.
Yeah, he didn't feel good.
And so we walked back. Dad and I walked back here, slept for a while, went back to see you Dad went back to see you in the morning, and then I came to see you, and it was just a crazy experience. But my dad is so funny. Every time he comes here, he goes and tries to find food. And somewhere, we don't know how, we don't know what happened, but somewhere he walked out of her room and came back with biscuits and gravy. And he didn't pay anything for them. We don't know where he got them from. We don't know what was happening, but he went and came back with biscuits and gravy. And we're like, what the hell? Where'd you find biscuits and gravy? And so that was just a funny thing, and that is exactly how my dad is.
He is like
He
that.
has a sonar for free food, or who knows if it was supposed to be free. Who knows? Maybe it was someone else's dinner sitting on a tray, and he's like, "Oh, that looks good. Must be here for me." And so that was just a funny thing, and so that was a weird, and it happened over a weekend.
It was.
It was on a Friday night that happened, and you were in the hospital Saturday, and then Sunday we came back here. And now, ever since then, she has to be careful when she eats, but you're familiar with what the pain is like now.
Yep.
And it's not ever been that bad.
No.
But we had two firefighters that was that was a day of a bad storm, and it had flooded on Saddle Creek, and we had 2 firefighters escort us, one pushing you on the wheelchair and one leading us through these tunnels at the hospital that I've never seen. And they were talking about earlier in the day, like 2 hours before that, saving people in cars and pulling people out of water being flooded. And I was just like, oh my God, thank you guys so much for being here. And they were like, oh, this is easy. This is fun. And they were talking in code and stuff, and it was so funny. And I'm sure you don't remember any of that, really.
I just remember the one that they made the one push me that was a trainee.
Young guy. Yeah, who's the trainee. They're like, you get to push her. Yeah.
Because he's the trainee, and we're all laughing.
It was
like,
very strange. It was a surreal time, and the whole time, obviously, we were so worried about, like, oh my God, what are we gonna do if you have to go to the hospital? Who's gonna stay with me? What's gonna happen? I mean, oh my God, it's so silly.
Not good timing.
So that's one thing, and then let's see. I want to end the video with, let's see how long we've been recording. An hour and a half. That's actually really good. So let's see here. I've got some things written down. I already mentioned that we went home for a funeral at one point. And so we went home for a funeral that was for someone from Prague, the town we're from. And it was someone I knew a little bit, but I knew Mom wanted to go to it. And so I was like, let's just go. And I was happy to go to see people and everything. And the people from our town is a very small town. It's like a town of 300 people. And we are Catholic, so we go to church there. Everybody there at church has been praying for us, knows about us. Everyone in the community knows I have cancer, and they've been thinking about us. And so I wanted to go to this funeral where all of them would be, and to let everybody see me and to say hello to people and everything at the reception afterwards, at the food part of a funeral. I don't know if it's called a reception, but whatever. So we went and did that, and it was not fun. It was a funeral, but it was fun for me good for me to see everybody from town. And I talked to the people who sent us cards, which we have a big wall of cards here in the room. Can I show that? There's a bunch of our cards on the wall there. But it was very good for me to do that and to see people and to talk to everybody. I did specifically try to talk to people who sent us cards and explain to everyone how it had been going. People kind of came and stood around us as I was talking to people, which was nice, so everyone could hear. At that point, I was doing really good. Probably worse now than I was then because my feet hurt now, but they didn't hurt back then. This was probably, 3-4 weeks ago? It was before Connie came, so maybe 5 weeks ago. It's hard to tell time here. But
and Patrick's not allowed to drive yet.
Yeah, I'm not legally not allowed to drive at all.
Cannot drive.
Yeah, and so that's one of the other reasons I have to be supervised all the time. If something were to happen, I'd have to leave, whatever.
Yeah.
And so we did get permission from everybody to let me go home for this one half a day or whatever to see. And so that was a nice experience. However, one of the other reasons we went home was because at the beginning of this year, around February, last year in October, we found out I needed this transplant. And so I knew that I was going to have a large stretch of the year this year that I wasn't going to be able to edit the 2 podcasts that I edit. And I'm sure I've mentioned them before in these videos. I know I mentioned them in the first couple because the people who work on the podcasts are really great. They've been great to me this whole time. They've checked up on me a few times, but the best thing they've done is basically leave me alone this whole time, which is really great. So I knew that I was going to be leaving and not working on this stuff while I was here at all. And so what I do for a job, which makes me absolutely zero money basically at all, but I edit a podcast every week. So 1 week I edit an episode of this one podcast, and they're both Harry Potter podcasts. So 1 week I edit 3 Broomsticks, and 1 week I edit Alohomora. And I alternate that every time. And 3 Broomsticks is a show that releases 1 episode every 2 weeks. So that episode gets posted and released that week I edit it. And then they record it like 2 weeks in advance or whatever. And then the off week that I edit, that I don't edit 3 Broomsticks, I edit Alohomora. And Alohomora last year decided that we were going to try to finish the show as fast as possible on our 500th episode. I've been working for that show for almost 13 years now. Or maybe over 13. Whatever, time is weird to me. So that show releases every week. And so we have another editor hired named Catherine, and she's wonderful. And so what we had been doing for the year leading up to this was I edit an episode, she edits an episode. I edit an episode, she edits an episode. On the weeks that she edits her episode is the week that I edit my episode of 3 Broomsticks. And so Catherine, being the amazing, wonderful, superhuman being that she is, she agreed to edit every episode while I have been in the hospital this whole time. And it makes me feel really guilty because I did that for years when we were doing the show like that before we changed it and went back to, it doesn't matter. But I edited an episode of the show every week for several years, and it was very hard to do that. And so I feel her pain, and I'm thankful that she still does it. The other podcast, Three Broomsticks, we did not have another editor, so we had to find someone. And so I didn't know anyone personally. Like, I'm in some audio circles, but I didn't know anybody that would be willing to edit a Harry Potter podcast, and to do this particular job. And so one of the hosts of the show found someone who was a friend of theirs who had been editing some Dungeons and Dragon recordings that they had made, and so she suggested her. And so at the beginning of this year, in February, I found out this lady's name was Brittany, and she was going to sort of take over for me as long as she could. She was going to take over for me during this time while I was here. And so sometime in February, we had a meeting scheduled. So I met with her, and we were supposed to talk for probably like 40 minutes to an hour, and I'm sure we talked for 3 hours to 4 hours because that's how long my meetings always tend to be. And so she was really great. She was very nice. And she didn't have a ton of experience with audio, but I thought she could do what she needed to do. And so over the course of the next month and a half or so, before we came into the hospital, I had several more meetings with her for several hours each time, going over like some techniques to do things, how I would do things. I would share my screen with her and show her how I would edit something. I downloaded the software she was going to be using because it was different than the software that I use. And so I was trying to learn that software and figure stuff out. And she would share her screen with me, and we would just go over things. And we had a lot of great meetings. And by the time it came around for me to come into the hospital here on March 28th, I knew that she would do a fine job. She would do great, even with all of her limited experience. And so when I came into the hospital, I had people from all over messaging me, like, hey, we'll talk to you when you get back, whatever, from both shows, and wishing me well and everything. And I had a message from Brittany, though, that said, I have something I'd like to send you in the mail. Will you send me your address at the hospital? And I thought, oh, that's, I don't really know this person at all, And so I was like, she doesn't owe me anything. I thought maybe she'd send me a card, because I did have some people reach out to me and say, what's your address? I'll send a card or something in the mail. And I was like, she definitely doesn't need to send me a card. She doesn't need to send me a gift card. I know that's maybe some people's natural instinct when they hear something something like this about someone that they know. But I really barely knew this person at all. And so I was like, don't worry about it. You don't owe me anything. You're already doing me a huge favor. You don't send me anything. And she was like, oh, no, I just want to send you something. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. And I was like, okay, well, I'll try to see if I can get the address for you. Well, while we were on the 7th floor in the Buffett Cancer Center, it's harder to figure out what the address there actually is. You have to have someone go down there and meet the person, because they don't actually they don't receive mail for people. You have to have someone down there already. So it was confusing. And so I pushed it off while we were up there. And so then when we moved here to this place, and she had kind of bugged me a couple times, like, hey, I have something I want to send you. And I just kind of ignored her. And so she bugged me again. She messaged me again when we moved here. And she said, I heard you moved to the hotel. Can you give me the address to your hotel? I have something I want to send you. And I told her, I was like, okay, fine. I'll give you the address. But I said, maybe you should just take the address to our house and send it to the house. And she was like, okay, that's fine. Because my sister's the only person that's ever sent us anything here. No one else has sent us anything here. And everything else that people have sent us, they just send to our house. And then my dad brings it, or my mom brings it if she goes and comes back. So I said, well, just send it to my house, and then I can have my dad bring it next time she comes. And she said, okay. And so it was a couple weeks will go by or whatever, and she sends me a message one day and says, okay, I sent the packages to you. And I was like, what? Packages? And she said, yes, I sent you 3 packages. And I said, okay. And so she said, it should be arriving to your house, like, whatever, later next week. And I said, okay, my dad's coming to visit us. He can bring them with him. And she goes, well, they might not fit in his car. And I was like, what? She goes, they're not heavy, but they're very big boxes. And so she said, if he can't fit them all in his vehicle, tell him to open the biggest one, and in the biggest box, there's a card, and it will explain what's in all 3 boxes. And I was like, okay. Well, so then that week, when he was going to be getting it and everything, was the week of the funeral. And so I thought, well, along with going to the funeral, I can hopefully these packages get there by then, and then I can go and see what's in these packages at home, and we don't need to worry about transporting anything. And so the day of the funeral, we went home a couple of hours early in the morning so we could all get dressed and look a little better, and then also so I could open these packages. And we got there, and we opened these packages. Can you give me that box, Mom? So here's one of the boxes. I can't even fit it in the frame. So this is one of the boxes. I think this is the one that says...
It's a small one.
Yeah, this is a small one. So this is one of the... It says box 2 of 3 on it. And this is one of the small boxes. There was another box that was this exact size, and then there was a box that was probably twice this size. Mm-hmm. Throw this back over there. And so I was like, what on earth can it be? And my dad had gotten the packages the day before when the UPS person or whoever, the USPS person had delivered them. And they were all incredibly light. Like it felt like there was nothing in them. And so I was like, what could she have sent me? You know, what could this, like again, I barely knew this person. So I was not expecting anything crazy at all. And so, we opened the boxes, and what we found was, can you get that out of the ceiling, do you think, Mom?
I don't think so.
Here, I'll read the letter.
Yeah, you read the letter.
Or you read the letter, and I'll get that off the ceiling.
It says, I hope things have been going smoothly and that you will be able to go home soon. I'm rooting for you. I'm not sure if you had ever heard of the Japanese legend with cranes, but in Japan, cranes are a symbol of long life, as they are you're supposed to live 1,000 years. Nowadays, origami cranes are given to people as symbols of peace, good fortune, and good health. They say that folding 1,000 cranes will grant you a wish. I started to fold these cranes last year without any goal before I met you. But once I met you, I knew that this was what I had to do to do. My wish is for you to live a long, happy, and healthy life. Please feel free to keep the cranes or give them away to others who you think will need them. I hope that they inspire you to stay strong and keep fighting. Sincerely, Brittany. P.S. Look up the story of Sadako Sasaki. She was my inspiration to do it again. To do origami. Mm-hmm. And our daughter, Sarah, his sister, had actually read this story when she was in school.
And again, the name is Sadako Sasaki. Sadako Sasaki. So, this is what was in one of the boxes that she sent me. Here, I'll hold it out a little. I can hold it a little further back. So, these are each an individually folded paper crane. And you can see, obviously, the colors, the work, the effort that went into this, that the coordinating of the colors. Each one of these has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 on this one. There's some with more, I can see. But each one of these has between 20 and 25 individually folded paper cranes on it. And this is a small one. I have pictures of the big ones and all of them here. And so this is what was in the boxes. Here, I'll just put it back here for now.
Okay.
So that was what was in the boxes. And absolutely amazing. Absolutely wonderful letter, by the way. Incredible letter. I'll cover her last name there, but there's the letter. Just the perfect thing she could have written for this. And again, this is someone that I did not know at all. And it says she's 5/15. So this is June 15th she sent him.
5 or 6?
5.
That's May.
May. I always forget about May.
May.
Least important May.
Whoa, there's the letter, ain't it, on the side?
Holy cow.
Oh my God, paper cranes.
That must be part of... holy cow.
She made them.
It looks like it. Wait, hold on.
What about the letter?
Well, I will look at the letter, but I want to see if that's what's in the right. You think it?
There must be 1,000 of them there. 500.
Yeah. Gosh, that is awesome! Holy cow! We'll have to take this back and we can hang them from the thing.
Yes.
Should just put it back in the box. Well, I wonder what's in here.
Yeah. There must be a set number of them.
Why not just one?
That's what I'm saying. There must be a set number.
You may be able to hang it out in the museum somewhere up there,
Oh,
where they got their glasses. Just put it back in the box.
hold on a minute. Look at the letter.
You have to put them back in there.
It says, oh my, there's a long letter.
We'll read it. Or you want to read it first yourself?
What's he done now? I warned that boy just to use his credit card for gas and oil.
It says, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of the Japanese legend with cranes, but in Japan, cranes are a symbol of long life as they are supposed to live 1,000 years. Nowadays, origami cranes are given to people as symbols of peace, good fortune, and good health. They say that folding 1,000 cranes will grant you a wish. I started to fold these cranes last year without any goal before I met you, but once I met you, I knew that this was what I had to do. My wish is for you to live a long, happy, and healthy life. Please feel free to keep the cranes or give them away to others who you think will need them. I hope they inspire you to stay strong and keep fighting. And her last name is Brittany.
Oh, that's
I'm
nice.
sure there must be 1,000.
That's really cool.
That is so
That
nice.
is awesome. So that was a really cool thing that we got, and I really love it. I think it's probably one of the coolest things anyone's ever given to me, for sure.
Definitely.
And I sent her a picture right away that day with me holding them, I was even dressed in nice clothes for the funeral and everything, so it looked nice. But I sent her pictures right away, and I have not said anything to her since then. So we are in talks with the hospital here to get those all. I want to cut off one of the strands of 20 and keep those forever, but we're in talks to have those. Donate those to the hospital and have them displayed somewhere here in the hospital. That's our hope and our goal, and we've talked to several people and they love the idea. So that's what hopefully will end up happening with them, but we're going to keep them safe and keep them protected until we know what we're going to do with them or what someone can do with them. And then when we were at the funeral, I told everybody about that story, including like our priest and everyone thought it was just such an amazing
It is. She
story.
Said, once she met him, she said, I knew. She didn't know why she was making the paper cranes, but once she met him, she said, I knew I was making the paper cranes for you.
Yeah.
And I mean, to wish him a long life and health,
And to have been working on them for
a long time.
couple of
And
months
they're
maybe before
beautiful.
that.
They're just so
with
beautiful.
no goal. I mean, you would think you could. I mean, obviously, there's better things she could have done with it than for me. But the fact that she just knew right away. She said she did mention that it was during our first meeting in February that she knew she was making them for me. So it's like, that's really incredible. So that was definitely one of the coolest things to happen out of this whole time. It was very wonderful. And I'm very happy that that happened. Let's see, that was one of the main things we wanted to talk about here. I think we're getting to the point where, let's see if there's anything we've kind of forgotten about. Oh, one thing I have to mention just because I took video of it, so I want to include it in this video. Last week, we were sitting here in our room and we looked out the window and there were these dudes rappelling down the side of the building, cleaning windows. So insert video of that here so that everyone can get a
It
chuckle
was
out of that.
interesting, and wow, we could see something out the window because
That was
can't
interesting.
even see the
Yeah.
sky.
And once you see the video, you'll be like, oh, that's all you guys get to see, just other people's windows, and
Yeah,
none of them
it's
are
just-
people's windows. It's
nothing.
just office
It's
windows
tar
and stuff.
paper is what it is, black tar paper on the
Mm-hmm,
roof. Because we
So-
can't see the sky or anything really.
Let's see, what else? One thing I do have to say that's not a very good thing, and this is a very recent thing. So not last week, but the week before, it was getting close to 4th of July, and we have a tradition in our family to go to Columbus on the day that they have the city of Columbus here in Nebraska, on the day that they have their
Fireworks.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the whole story in my head and say it as I'm thinking of it. We have a tradition in our family to go to my uncle's house, who lives in Columbus, on the day that Columbus does their fireworks for 4th of July. And so we had a plan with my sister and her family was going to come. My cousin Cody and his family, or him and Audrey, his wife, were going to come and meet at my Uncle Jim's, Cody's dad, my dad's brother, house in Columbus for 4th of July like we do every year. And Mom and I decided that we were going to just take off from here, go there for that, and then it'd be really late, so we would stay at home for one night and then come back here and the next morning. And they would never know from here that we did that because technically we weren't going to ask for permission or whatever. And so we were talking to one of my when I had a doctor's appointment on Thursday of that week, and that was actually the day we were because
going
4th of
home.
July was on Friday. Thursday is the day that we have all of my appointments, but Thursday night was the night that they were doing the fireworks in Columbus. And so we were talking to the doctor and we were joking around about it, and I said, I joke around with them all the time about they can send us home early, and they can't legally for legal reasons. You have to stay for your 100 days or whatever because of our situation and everything the way we are. Different people have different situations, but I was joking around. And so the doctor who we had that day surprised me and said, oh, let me go see if I can get permission for you guys to have 2 days off where you can go home and spend the weekend at home. And I was like, oh, you don't worry about it, because I knew we were going to be going to Columbus that night and staying for one night and then coming back home. And so she went and asked a bunch of people, asked my official doctor, like, hey, can Patrick go and stay home for 2 nights? And because we were in the 90s, of the days we've been here. So we got permission to go stay home for a weekend. And then it ended up going so wrong. The day went all right because we went home. After we were done with that doctor's appointment, we got in the car, we drove home. Mom made some macaroni salad and some other stuff, and we took it to my Uncle Jim's. We had a great meal. We got to see some of my cousins we don't get to see very often. We watched the fireworks. We came back home, and I had been having gout problems before that. My feet and my knee were swollen, and I've been taking pills to help it go down, and the swelling go down. And we went to this, and I could walk around all right, but for some reason, the walking around, being out throughout the day, being in the hot, getting in the car, driving home, I could barely get out of the van at all. And I hobbled into the house and slept all night, felt a little bit better the next morning, could walk around a little bit. We got back in the car, drove back here, and when I could not even get out of the car. I barely got out of the car and up the steps to the benches that sit out front of this building. And I could not make it up to my room. So Mom had to run in here and get the wheelchair we had been using that week to wheel me around because my knee was so swollen again from gout that she had to come get the wheelchair to bring me into the hospital. And since then, for 2 weeks, my feet have hurt so bad. And I don't know if it's because I did too much walking on 4th of July. I don't think so, because walking around here would be just as much walking as we did at my uncle's, which we do that every Monday and Thursday, or every time we have to go get water. But since that day, my feet have hurt terribly. I can barely walk as it is, and I have to like be walking around for a little while and like basically rev my feet up to be able to walk a distance. Otherwise, I'm hobbling really badly. And so I've been talking to my doctors about it the last 2 weeks. We're trying to figure everything out. We were supposed to have a rheumatology appointment with a doctor this week, but the lady called and had to cancel that appointment, and now we won't get it scheduled until the end of this month. So hopefully my feet are better by then, and it will be a moot session with the doctor. But it just was a bummer. But I did want to mention, I have felt so guilty the entire time because they gave us permission to leave for the weekend for 2 days. We betrayed their trust completely by leaving that day and then coming back the next day and then staying here over the 2 days, but they gave us permission to go home. So that it just is so funny to me. And years later, when I watch this with someone, with Chloe as she's older or something, I'll be laughing at that a lot because I felt so guilty, and I still feel guilty, which is silly because they gave us permission to go home, and that's what we did, and then came back even earlier than they told us we could stay. So it was just a funny thing, but I mean, that is what it is. So okay, that's I feel good enough for this. However, I do want to. We've been recording now for an hour and 50 minutes. So I want to spend a little bit of time at the end of this video here talking about the hospital itself. We're not going to talk about every area in detail or anything like that. I just want to mention some of the areas that are really cool. If people are in Nebraska or you ever make your way to Omaha, the hospital does have one thing in it at least, that is like a tourist destination thing, especially if you're a lover of art and especially of hand-blown glass artwork. So that's the first thing I want to start out with. But I guess first I'll say the hospital is split up into different buildings. There's the Buffett Cancer Center. There's the Lead Transplant Center where we're at here. There's the Clarkson Center. It's all these humongous... There's the Durham's Outpatient Center, right. There's all these different buildings that are all connected together by hallways and things. Like everybody's been in huge buildings. I assume that watches this, you understand how stuff like this works. We didn't really. We're not hospital people, so it was a little different for us, and it took us a while to get used to it. But the hospital itself is enormous. It's an environment. What do they call buildings that are all connected together? There's a word for it. I was saying it the other day. I was like, I just need to bring that up in the video because that's what buildings like this are called. But it's a bunch of separate buildings all connected together. Several times we have gone outside and walked around the buildings, and that's where you get to really good view and lay of the land. And both times we've been locked out of the buildings because you can walk out of a building anywhere, right? Any door will take you outside of the buildings. But to try to get back in, especially on a weekend, heck no, they do not want you in getting into these buildings from the outside. And I did mention we have a key that can get us into certain parts of the building. It does not open any exterior door of this building or right near here or anything like that. So we were a little bummed out about that, but it's very fun. There's a lot of statues spread out around the whole area, whether it's on the college campus, the campus of nursing, or it's in sort of the little grassy areas between buildings here. There's because these were all separate buildings, I believe, at one point, and then everything grew. So there are, there's a big library building, there's different areas. And in between those buildings, there's little grassy areas with sidewalks, and then there are some big sculptures. And the sculptures are all like a big femur bone or a big stethoscope outside of the nurses' college. Or there's this kind of unique looking, it looks almost like a children's playground thing, but this like colorful twisting sculpture. There's interesting different things to be seen, I guess, in all nooks and crannies outside. Inside, the hallways, for the most part, all look the same. And so if you don't know where you're going, it's easy to not think you're heading into a direction that will take you somewhere interesting. But that's not necessarily true. Everywhere you go will lead you to somewhere that is interesting, is what I've found. Every building itself has within it different places that are like worth going to. And so for us, the most obvious, closest thing is this place that they call what kind of gardens? The Healing Gardens. It's right across the hallway from, there's this big window across from the Nebraska Cafe, which we talked about earlier, where you look out into this nice place. And they showed us that when they were wheeling us across there in the first place, leading us here the first place when I was in the wheelchair. The nurses pointed it out. And so I've never gone and sat in there to actually just go sit in there, but you've gone in there a bunch of times.
I have.
And it's just a bunch of little benches with green areas, but it's not much really plants. And you say all of it is now what?
Buttonweed.
It's mostly buttonweed and not flowers, but nobody here knows what a buttonweed is. So they think it's a flower, but it's a weed. And there's like one area where they have these flowers planted in this giant flower thing. But for the most part, it looks like it'd be a really nice area if it was upkept, but it's really not. There's an area for a waterfall, like a fountain waterfall type of thing display. And there's
Two cranes.
These metal cranes that are very cool.
Hanging on wire.
Yeah.
They're beautiful.
We'll have to go film out there.
Yeah.
I'll do that. That's a really great idea. So there's that area, which is really nice, and Mom's gone out there a lot. She'll sit and she'll read. She has a crossword puzzle book. Mm-hmm. She'll just sit and enjoy being outside. For people who don't know, if you don't know my mother, which probably most people watching this don't, she loves to be outside.
I do.
Me, not so much. I'm not really an outside person, but she loves to be outside. So she'll try to take any opportunity while we're here to go sit outside or whatever. And generally, if I was recording a video or doing something on my computer where I needed to be quieter in the room, like this, if I was doing something like this, that's what she would do. She would either go somewhere, like to a store or something, or she would go sit outside for a while. There's two other areas kind of like that. One of them is a neat area that Sarah, my sister, found when she was looking at a map, being a little nosy. And she saw that there was an rooftop garden, it was called. And so we went and found it. Her and I did one of the days where she was here with me, my sister. Sarah and I were walking around looking for different areas of the hospital, and we found this area that's in the top of the pediatrics building with the children's hospital. There's a newborn ward here, and that is a really neat area as well, with this sort of like fake tree that goes up into the ceiling and these nice statues of families. And then there is this big area with this big glass wall, and outside the wall you see the roof of this building, and then there's a garden that's similar looking to the other one, but they have a little area to sit in. You can see off the roof a little bit, but it has to be really protected, so you can't really see off the roof that much. But they have a little pond in this place, and in the pond there's like this otter and
a beaver.
Otter, beaver, and an alligator head that like float around
Just
in this
the
pond.
head.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny little thing. But there's like reeds out there, and it's kind of neat. It's very hot. It's always been very hot when I've gone out there.
Yeah.
But it's nice.
It's where birds go there to get a drink.
There's birds, and
They go there to get a drink because the waterfall flows down, and then it flows into this little. Oh, it's just little, but it's like a little pond,
Yeah.
and the birds all go there to get a drink.
Yep. And it's from that area you can see the tips and tops of some of the trees in the areas between the buildings where you walk, where there's sculptures and stuff.
Yeah.
So it does make sense where it's at. It's logically, but there's a really cool cowboy statue inside, which is neat there too. It's like a cowboy on his horse or something. There's a couple of those around the area that are neat. I don't know why they're here, but they're neat. I guess it ties into Nebraska history, but that's a neat area. I've gone and sat out there. That place, there's people at that place a lot more. I've seen a lot of people there who are patients of the hospital with their IVs and like maybe in a dressing gown, like a hospital gown. I've seen a lot of people out there with nurses and just different people. So it's a destination place for people who are recovering and healing to go. So it's very neat. I like seeing people out there. Nurses go there to eat their lunches sometimes. We've seen that before. We've been here over sort of a hotter part of the year, so we don't see people out there as much, but we don't go up there as often really either. The trek there from here is an interesting thing. We go through these hallways with these interesting walls with patterns, and you can just feel when you go into a different building.
Yeah.
You can feel that you're in a different building than the one we're in now, or the Buffett, which is the newest building of all the buildings.
Right.
And then the third garden area is in the Cholula area. So I want to spend a few minutes talking about that. So when we first started coming to the Buffett Cancer Center last year in January of 2024, people were telling us go to the Buffett or go to the Cholula on the fourth floor, which is it's an area. The fourth floor in the Buffett Cancer Center is where we go every Monday and Thursday to doctor appointments. The second floor in the Buffett Cancer Center is for the infusion center. The ground floor actually is where everyone kind of the big wide open
entrance
area, yeah. And then the reception desk, and then there's also the cafe is down there, and then they have a piano, and sometimes they'll do concerts with like a string quartet there, which I've never gotten to see. But then you take the elevators up. You can go to the fifth floor, which is where when you were staying with me there, you did laundry and stuff, I think, right? It's
I
like
did there, and they have a shower for patients.
Families and people who are staying.
You can take a shower there, and they have a laundry room there.
Yeah. And there's vending machines and things like that.
Yes.
And then the sixth floor is, I don't know if we ever went to the sixth floor.
There.
The seventh floor is where cancer patients stay. The eighth floor is also cancer patients stay, but I think that's a different kind of floor for different kind of, I'm not sure what, but I know it's all different kinds of cancers on the seventh floor. And then there's a ninth and a 10th floor, I believe, and those are like offices, I think. It's ninth and the 10th floor. But on the fourth floor and the second floor, you can access this area that's called the Chihuly area. And we did not know who Chihuly was or anything like that, so if you don't, that's fine. Chihuly is the name of a man who does glass art. He's very famous. He's done art installations all over the world. He had a big art installation here at Jocelyn Art Museum for many years, and I think it's gone maybe now. But he has very famous art, glass art, and you've probably seen some of his work and maybe not known it was him. You can go online and look up like vases and things he's made, but for the most part, it's these giant sculptures that he makes that he's known for. And here at the hospital, he has a very incredible installation, which I will be showing you videos and everything of now, of just like different glass sculptures that are set up to look like there's balls, there's the icicle things that looks like icicles or stalactites from the ground going up towards the ceiling. There's like a tree that looks like an icicle tree. In the actual Chihuly area itself, there's these really cool displays of like orange and yellow and green, all different colors really, around this circular area. In the center, there's this area where there's these these blue glass that's set in the ceiling. And then if you go inside the main area, there's this really awesome circular room that Mom likes. My Aunt Annie loved. Aunt Connie loved too. My nephew Hunter loved it. Sarah liked it. Everyone likes it because it's really cool. But it's a circular room with 3 benches, and they play music in there that's very calming, soothing music. And you look up, and there's these big sculptures that hang from the ceiling. And the roof is a glass ceiling so that the natural light shines through it. It's very cool. It's very neat. It's very much a vibe. And the whole thing is very interesting and very beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And then you can see from that area down into like a walkway area on the second floor. So if you go to the second floor, you can go out these doors and you can see the bottom part of the big sculptures and the glass. You can see it from below. And then also in that area, you can go out some doors to an outside area that's another garden park area. And that when you can walk around in a little path, and it has better flowers, better area. It's a little smaller, I think, but there's always people in there.
It's beautiful.
It's very pretty area.
And you can hear the music outside that they're playing inside that's very calming, very kind of healing, peaceful music.
Yeah. Yep. And it's absolutely gorgeous. All of the glass is phenomenal. I personally love blown glass. I think it's always gorgeous, and this is just on another level. It's really cool.
I definitely could be wrong.
People come here to the hospital sometimes, or tourists and people, just to go to that area. I actually was talking to some people a couple of weeks ago when Connie was here with me in the Nebraska Cafe, and I was talking. They had never been there before, and I could see they hadn't. So I was explaining to them how to order, and then they were standing there waiting with me, and I said something to them about how long they're going to be here, and they said, "Oh, we're just here for the day," and they said, "We're just here to see the Chilulier," and I said, "Oh, you're here for a good reason," and it hadn't even occurred to them that most people who are here are there for bad reasons. You're in a hospital. But they were literally just tourists there to see that installation, which is really cool to have that. And we've spent a long time in there waiting for appointments, and just it's outside of the area where you see the doctor. And so, like, my Aunt Annie, when she came in and she was waiting here with me for 3 hours, that's where she was. She was sitting in there. She really liked it a lot. So it's a very nice area. We're very fortunate to have that here. And I think that those are three of the areas that all those areas, the Chilulier space specifically, but all those three areas are areas that we would go sit outside. For me personally, the closest area to us and the one I go sit out the most is the area out front here where the 3 benches I mentioned earlier. And there's a lot of activity there. The other places are a little bit more private kind of, and you only see people if they're in the area with you. But out front here on those benches, you see everyone coming in and going from the hospital. So I like to go out there. Plus you have a bigger, wide open area of the sky, so you can see the clouds and things like that more if they're interesting to look at all. Let's see, what else? The hospital is just made up of hallways. At night, they shut the lights off after 10 o'clock in the hallways.
They dim them.
They dim them, yes. It's not like a horror
don't
movie.
shut 'em off.
Although it isn't that far off from a horror
It's
movie.
dimmed, yeah.
And a lot of horror movies take place in
Don't
hospitals.
go get water after
Shout out to
10
Halloween,
o'clock.
too.
We learned that.
Yeah.
Because it's dark when you go to get us
And so,
water.
over the time we've been here, I've tried to take videos of just like going down different hallways. I have to mention one of my favorite buildings here is the library building. We saw it from the outside first when Sarah, my sister, was here with my niece and nephew, and we were all walking around outside, and we got locked out. We were trying to get into some of the different buildings, and I saw this building that looked incredible with this huge wall of glass, like the entire size of a building, and made up of different panels. And I was like, I want to go in there and see what that is. Well, we could never get in. And so one day I was calculating in my head like where it would be. And so I was like, I'm going to try to get in there. So no, it was you and me.
You and I went there.
Yeah, you and I went
but
there
then
first.
You and Sarah went there.
So I was
got in there.
like, Mom, we're going to go for a walk. And so we ended up going and turning a different way than we had. Basically, there's this area where you can go one of 4 different directions, and we had never turned right. So we turned right, and we headed into this building, and it was during the time when graduation had already happened, and the college was closed. So we were going into an area of the hospital. It wasn't part of the college; it's part of the hospital, I believe, and it's a library part. It's across the street from the college, and it's attached to this building, so I consider it to be that. But it was really cool. The whole building is set up like a museum. They have these really cool, interactive, enormous screens that fill up the size of a wall where you can look up the history of the hospital. You can look up the history of the area, the buildings, all that stuff. It's very cool. You can look up people who started things, famous doctors that have been here, all these things,
And
famous
dentists.
patients,
Dentists.
dentists. And then they have this really cool timeline on this wall. It's very neat. And then we went up a floor, and they had another Starbucks, because, by the way, there is a Starbucks here in the building, which my sister loved, and my Aunt Connie loved more than anything. She walked there every single morning to get Starbucks coffee. For the record, we're not coffee people, so we don't do coffee here. But we went up to the floor. There was another Starbucks there, and then there's this enormous area. It's so cool. Where they must have meetings and stuff occasionally. It's, for the most part, it's empty, but it's like they connected these two buildings with this crazy walkway, and it just is weird. I mean, you'll see in the videos, but it's just really gorgeous, and it is part of the library. I never actually got into a library anywhere to see books anywhere, but who knows? Maybe they don't even have books anymore. It's just computers. But it was very neat to be in that building, and then we managed to find our way onto a walkway that connects to the College of Nursing across the street. And that was fun, walking across a big walkway with cars going under you and everything. Even though there's construction there now, there's no cars now. But that was a really fun day when we went exploring. And then we came back to our building, and we walked around the outside, and I noticed that part of the building that we're in now, part of the lead transplant center, is 12 stories tall. And so I was like, I want to go to the top of the 12th floor. So we came into our building, and we went to an elevator that we had not gone to before. And it's called the Gold Elevator in this building. And we went up to the 5th floor. And we got out at the 5th floor, and we're like, okay, that's nice. But it wouldn't let us I hit the 6th button. A person got on the elevator with us, and she went to the 6th floor, and she had a key card that she had to scan to go to the 6th floor. And I asked her, can you get us to the 12th floor? And she said, I don't even know what's on the 12th floor. And so we went with her to the 6th floor, which is where they had really bad dementia patients. And so we were like, okay, we better get out of here pretty fast. There were people just kind of walking around. It's like, okay. But the cool thing about this, and the reason I wanted to get to the top floor, was right next to the elevator. When you get out of the elevator, if you turn right, there is 2 chairs and a big glass wall looking out onto the city. And from the top, the 12th floor, I bet you could see so far. And so we asked everybody we knew. We talked to doctors. I talked to someone who I knew who works here in the building, and no one could tell us what's on the 12th floor or how to get there. And I did find out eventually, someone said that I think it's for research stuff, so it's like maybe laboratory or something like that. But it was interesting and disappointing to not ever be able to get to the top of the 12th floor. So if anyone from the hospital ever watches this and you know what's on the 12th floor, comment and let me know. And if you can get me on the 12th floor, we'll go up there and we'll go sit in those chairs together and we'll take a video up there. Because that's what I just wanted to go up there and take a video from on top of the 12th floor, but I can't get up there. So the highest we can go is to the top of the 10th floor, I believe, in the Buffett Center, is I believe the highest we can go. So, and the highest we've ever gone is the 7th. But that's kind of a fun thing we did, and went on a little discovery path that day. That was kind of a fun area to go to. Let's see, what other areas of the hospital have we I think we've kind of covered. Oh no, we forgot. When you go to the oldest part of the hospital, where you were by the emergency area, they have these really cool sculptures that go from one floor to the other. It's this like high roller room you go in. They have, first of all, you walk there and there's these sculptures, these like life-size people bronzes of people. And then you walk through and there's this really intricate like it's like a paper sculpture in the middle of the room. And you go up and I was talking to Sarah, and I found it. And I was talking to Sarah, and you could hear yourself echo. And I was like, that's really weird. And we went and looked in this area where it's like a cafe kind of, but it's a little fancier. And it's really old. The woodwork on the walls is incredible. And it's just a fancy area. It looks like it's like a place you're not supposed to be. And every time we've ever gone there, which is 3 times I've been there, there's never been a soul there.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anyone, usually it's been over the weekend because we're too weenies to go there over the week. But there's no one ever there, so I don't know what they use it for ever. Probably just big meetings and stuff. But it looks like fancy stuff, and it's interesting. And you walk back out, and there's a staircase, like a grand staircase going down. You go down there, and you can see the bottom of the sculpture. What you were looking at before on the top floor is the top of the sculpture that then extends down below into like a puddle, or like a water sculpture thing. And then they have a grand piano down there, and it's an entrance area for a big area you can rent out to have like events, like an event thing. So that was really, we couldn't believe it when we found that. It's like, what the heck? And it's down a hallway no one ever goes to or anything. It's really crazy, but that was really fun to find that. and see that. And if it wasn't so far away from where we are, we would go there more often. But that's past the the Clarkson Cafe. It's in the Clarkson building, which is where the emergency room is and where they have certain areas. We've gone there to do a lumbar puncture here once, which was really crazy and different. But there's a big gift shop there as well. It's an interesting area of the hospital. And they have a sort of a trophy case with the awards the hospital has won over the years. You can walk around and find yourself at the bottom of the bottom floor of the building where the rooftop garden is. But basically, to get there from where we are, you have to walk along like a really, really long hallway to get to the Clarkson building. And then from there, you can go to the Clarkson Cafe, or you can keep going. And that's where they also have a really beautiful chapel. That we never went to a service at or anything, but they have a big chapel there, which is very nice. Yeah, we went in there. They have nice stained glass windows and everything. It's a nice chapel. I'm sure they have really nice things there, but we don't really go to that side of the hospital very often. But yeah, that's kind of that's the other side of the hospital. But that is basically the whole hospital. I think we've covered most everything. So yeah, that's what the main part of this video I wanted to be, was to talk about the hospital. And obviously the main thing was to talk about kind of stuff that has happened to us and what it's been like living here in the hotel attached to the hospital for the last 100 or so days. So with all that being said, we can end the video here. This is the end of part 5. I will do a part 6 at some point, but it might not be for quite a while. We'll end up seeing what happens. I cannot tell you right now if I am cancer-free. I think I am. They have given us no indication that there's any cancer left. They said that there was when we got my bone marrow biopsy results, they said that it said there was nothing, no result, no lingering cancer cells or anything. But I'm getting the sense from everybody that there will never be a day where they're like, okay, you've done it. We've beaten cancer. I don't know if we're going to ever get to that day. So, and maybe with my type of cancer, there isn't a day like that. I don't know. I thought having the bone marrow, from what we understood, the bone marrow transplant was getting rid of the cancer basically for good. So I think everyone's just being a little extra cautious, and we're doing this trial now, and we're going to get to go home, but we still have to come back a lot, and we're still doing a lot of different things. So we're not done by any means. This was just the first big milestone. Then we have the 3-month milestone, the 6-month milestone, the year milestone, the 2-year milestone, and it keeps going forward to 5 years, at which point then, if you're fine, they start to leave you alone, as far as I understand. But it's not like we have to go to the doctor every week for the next 5 years, maybe just for the next few months, maybe the rest of the year, as we're getting through everything, and then they'll start leaving us alone more often, and then we'll have to go back for checkups every now and then, is from what I understand. So when we move back home, we're going to start having labs done in Fremont again, like we did most of last year. And then when we start coming back for procedures and things, I think we can start having them in Bellevue again. So we don't have to necessarily come to this location. We can go to the different locations around town and go to some of the hospitals we're a little bit more familiar with from last year. But we're obviously now mostly familiar with this hospital, so we can come here and do anything we need to do here. But we'll be doing stuff in Fremont as well, which is good because it's only a half hour from home instead of an hour and a half, and it's a place we're much more familiar with than Omaha. So that's what it kind of looks like moving forward. We've already told you about where we've been, so for now, we will end the video, and I'll just tell everybody thank you so much for following on. Thank you for anybody who sent us a card, who's done anything like that. I say it at the end of every one of these videos. It means a lot to all of us. And so keep doing it, keep thinking about us, and I'll update people. I keep updating things on the channel as we record new videos, so you can always check the first 5-10 minutes of any video, even if you're not interested in it, to see what's kind of been going on. But I'll keep everybody updated. I have some shorts as well that we've been filming for different things to let everybody know what's been going on. So keep that kind of stuff in mind. And for now, we'll end the video. I'll say thank you very much, and we will see you all next time.
Hello
everybody, this is Patrick, and I wanted to film a little update here. We've got a couple of fun, important things coming up. Tomorrow is a very important special day. It's a big milestone for me. We're actually getting my PICC line out. I've had it since January of 2024, so I've had it for almost a year and several months now. But in this video, I just kind of wanted to take a little bit of time and show the room off. It's a pretty small room. We've got our 2 beds here. And then in the corner there, you can see we've got our wall of cards. We've got my computer and everything set up with my light, which is really nice, add some ambiance to the room. We've got the fan here, which has been super important when it's hot. I got my PlayStation here hooked up to the small TV, but it works fine. Bathroom's nothing crazy, but it's nice and big, I guess. Not a big deal though, but there's my mom in the corner hiding to film the end of the video. Yeah, just the 2 beds. We've got a little nightstand with all of our junk and stuff on there. I've got this table that was here when we came in. We hooked up my stuff over there with the card table, and so we've got this extra table that I just keep full of junk and stuff. Here's all my medications that I've been taking with some extra stuff. Up here we've got these different things. We've got the cross and everything like we had at the hospital. We've got some flowers. We can actually have flowers and plants in the room now. Obviously we can do whatever we want here, because we're just staying in a hotel, so there's no rules. It's up to us. We've got flowers we just bought recently. I like the multicolored stuff, and then this is a really nice arrangement my cousin sent me, so I'm really happy for that. Got my books in the corner over here. This is something that's really nice that my niece made for me. Chloe made this for me. Happy spring. So I like to keep some of her stuff around. She also made this for us. Yeah, like I said, that's pretty much the room. The hotel itself is not a very big deal. It's just 1 floor. But it's just kind of, what it is. So this is my chia pet. It caused a bit of a stir about not being allowed on the 7th floor, but this is our hotel. And so we can have this wherever we want here. So we've got some steps. I've never done a chia pet before. This is some chia seeds, which is really cute. And then we got, here's the actual, interesting. Oh, here's for it to sit in. That's nice. And here is, I gotta try not to break it. I didn't expect it to be so hard getting out of here. There we go. Here is the actual. This is pretty awesome. So it's like a terracotta pot. This is the actual Godzilla. And so I don't know actually how I assume we do this, and then I'll read the instructions and we'll keep everybody updated, I guess.
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
So what are we doing after this?
Going to bed.
Yeah. That makes sense, but...
Are you videoing? Are you... Hi.
Are you okay? She scraped her leg on the thing. You can make it up one more time.
Oh, it'll help.
You can make it up one more time.
Oh, we're gonna make it worse.
Mom, one more time.
My first ever taste of a Snickers pecan. Interesting. It tastes like a Milky Way.
I thought turtle, like a turtle.
A turtle? Yeah. Yes. That's actually maybe a bit. Yes. Yes, it tastes like one of those turtle cookies. Yes. I'm not a big fan of Snickers generally, but I like it better than a regular Snickers, that's for sure. So I bought this lobster bisque here. Oh, it's steaming still, I can tell. I've never had lobster bisque, and the reason that I bought it was because there's this hilarious Studio C sketch where they go, lobster bisque, which is very funny, and we love Studio C, and so I thought I would try it for the very first time. When I first opened it, it smelled like putrid, and it did expire yesterday. And I bought it on clearance for $2.75, so it's very cheap. But when I heated it up, it now smells kind of like clam chowder. So I'm assuming it's going to be kind of like a chowdery taste. So I'm going to try it for the first time and hope that it's not so hot it burns my mouth. All right, first taste of lobster bisque. It kind of tastes, I guess, like a shrimp or something. I've never had lobster, so I can't say. The thing is, I don't know if it's good anymore. You know, I don't know what's in this. If it expired, like if there's a milk product in this, I don't know.
So you can hear it.
Sure. Wow. hello everybody. I have just received a letter that I presume is from, yes, Chloe Bohr, my niece. And so I'm going to open it, and we've got, there's some nice sticker on the back. We got, oh no, it's not a sticker, that's just part of the envelope. Okay, well whatever, I want to open this. And I'm just tearing into it because she was drawing when we were talking to her over Facebook Messenger one day, and I was telling her how proud I was of her drawing her mother, and I think she drew her interpretation of a monster, and it kind of looked like a bug with multiple arms. And I told her that I was really proud of her for doing that, because she isn't really to the point where she has been drawing things that you can tell what they are yet. But she just started to do that, and so I told her, you should draw a picture of me. And so she ran and got a piece of paper, I'm gonna guess this one, and she drew a picture of me. And so we will see. This is me. Or this is me. So
It's hard to see it with the gold.
yeah, it is hard to tell with the gold, but I'm gonna say the hair is up here. Eyeballs, maybe. It doesn't matter. It's absolutely amazing. And I'm so happy that she gave it to me. And it's going to go up there on the wall. We have another picture of hers that she drew and sent on the wall over here. And so I'm just happy she sent it. So thank you so much, Chloe. And I can't wait to hang this up. Okay, so we found this sweet, awesome history of this whole place here. And you can look, the 1890s here. We're almost to the 1890s. We are to the 1890s. Over here, 1880. It goes through the different areas, different people. This is so cool. How do I go back?
That's as far as it goes by the
I
bottom.
understand that, but oh, cool. It goes through different people. Oh, sweet. Each one of these has, it's different. Some of them do. But how do I go back? Put my faces in the sun. Can you believe it? I said if we sit in the sun, I can't do it. What are the odds of that? Hi guys. You guys are such cuties. Hello everybody. Today is our last day in the hospital and we have just taken the entire day basically to pack up this entire room and we are going to be heading back home. I do not have to be living here in the hospital anymore. And this is a very great day and so we are now free to leave and take off. So that is what I am going to do. Auf Wiedersehen, good night, and goodbye.